Chapter 316. Yujin Tao. Chu Li did not stop moving as he asked, "Did you find Yujin Tao?" "No." Shui shook her head. Shui Ling shook her head. "It's only based on the sword technique. It's Yujin Tao's Duan Li sword technique. The Jingmen Association usually deals in illicit salt. Their methods are tyrannical, and they've done a lot of exterminations. Since they're a low-level gang, the public house doesn't care." "Did they exterminate the Jingmen Association?" "Not the Jingmen Association, but the Jingmen faction," Shui said. The Jingmen Association was the periphery of the Jingmen faction. However, the Jingmen faction did not commit any evil deeds. The public house could not deal with them because of the Jingmen Association. Chu Li shook his head. This was the helplessness of the public house. In order to limit the public house's influence, the founders set up many rules. Over the years, the martial arts factions had studied these rules thoroughly and found loopholes. The Jingmen Association and the Jingmen faction was an example. No matter how wise the founder was, he was only one person. These martial arts factions had hundreds of millions of people. How could the wisdom of hundreds of millions of people be inferior to the founder and could not find loopholes? The public house could only abide by these rules even though they knew it was not right. Shui said, "In the end, the Duan Li Dao destroyed them." "Isn't that satisfying?" Chu Li said. Shui shook her head. "It is satisfying, but we still have to catch the Duan Li Dao." Chu Li said, "Master Xiao Taiying sent someone?" "Yes, there was no news." Shui said, "The Duan Li Dao is a senior master. His knife technique is unique. It is said that he is comparable to Master." Chu Li glanced at her. Shui smiled embarrassedly. "Master, I was wrong. I should not have mentioned your name. But, Master, when are you going to reveal your true identity?" Chu Li shook his head. "I will not say before I die." Shui sighed. "You are famous. If everyone knows that you are the White Shroud Shindao, it will be much easier for Master." Chu Li said, "This identity has other uses." Sigh, "I am stupid. I don't think too much." Shui said, "But it is too stifling." "What is there to stifle?" Chu Li smiled. "My ambition is not in the martial arts world. What is the use of being famous?" "All right. I'll obey." Shui Ling sighed helplessly. She decided to seal her mouth. Every time she heard people talking about the White Shroud Shindao, saying how powerful and mysterious he was, she had a strong urge to announce that the white-robed Shindao was her young master. She resisted the urge and felt her heart itch. The next day, Shui Ling sent another piece of news. Another clan had been annihilated by the Duan Li Dao. "Young master, this time Duan Li Dao, left a message in the Flowing Moon sect." Shui Ling's face tightened, and she scoffed. "He wants to fight to the death with you, young master." "If young master doesn't look for him, he will destroy another faction." "Looking for me?" Chu Li did not stop swinging his sword. He was still slowly practicing the 7 forms of godly sword. As expected, Duan Li Dao did not deal with Leisure Cloud Pub and Shui Ling as king and had said. Instead, he directly provoked the House of High Dukes, challenging him, forcing him to show himself. "Master Xiao Taiying will definitely not let him fight with you. He will get someone to deal with him first." Shui Ling said, "What right does he have to challenge you, master?" Chu Li said, "Did he leave any other message?" Shui Ling hesitated for a moment and said helplessly, "There were some who scolded you. They said that you relied on the third lady's favor to become a rank 2 scribe. You have no real ability at all." Chu Li's face darkened. It was fine if they scolded him. His skin was thicker than the city wall. He did not care about the scolding, but he dared to scold Xiaoqi as well. He also said, "Young master, you are not fit to be the chief of the House of High Dukes. Young master, your martial arts skills are mediocre. Just because you caught the third lady's eyes, you can suddenly rise to a high position. The House of High Dukes is getting more and more corrupted. It should not exist anymore. The House of High Dukes should be dissolved. Chu Li's face darkened. Xue Ling shook her head. In short, his scolding was very unpleasant. Chu Li said, "If I don't accept the challenge and can't defeat him, my reputation will be ruined. Am I right?" Xue Ling remained silent. "And I will have to deal with him myself." Chu Li said lightly, "I can't rely on the House of High Dukes. Otherwise, the world will laugh at me again. Am I right?" Sigh. Xue Ling sighed and said hatefully, "This Yu Ling is too cruel." "All right, I will fight him myself." Chu Li said, "Young master, do you really want to go?" Xue Ling frowned. "What if, afraid that I can't defeat him? He is almost 90 years old. He has been cultivating for much longer than you, young master." Xue Ling frowned. "And he has been famous for many years. He has never been defeated. He is a very scary master." "Then let's try. I will go with you, young master. I will be your sword." "You?" Chu Li shook his head. "You will be a burden if you go. I can still run if I can't defeat him. This time, he wants to kill you, young master." Xue Ling said hatefully, "He is forcing you to fight with your life because he is afraid that you will run away. How cruel!" She could see through Yu Jintao's intentions, but most people in the martial arts world could not. They only thought that Yu Jintao was simply challenging Chu Li and was waiting to watch the show. Chu Li said, "It is still uncertain who will win and who will lose." Xue Ling looked at him and sighed. Although young master was a genius, he had only been cultivating for a short period of time. He had just stepped into the Grandmaster's boundary not long ago. How could he be compared to the old man who had been in the Grandmaster's boundary for decades? This Duan Li Dao had been famous for decades. There were many people who wanted to kill him, but he was still alive. It was enough to prove how powerful and scary he was. Although young master was powerful, it was better to be safe than sorry. "I don't think Master Xiao Taiying will agree," Xue Ling said. Chu Li shook his head. "Secretly get the news." "Master," Xue Ling said. Chu Li said, "Go." Xue Ling stomped her feet, but did not dare to disobey. She turned around and went out to get the news. The sun was shining brightly and brightly beside the Li River. Chu Li stood on a huge rock beside the Li River. He looked at the surging river under the rock and felt the never-ending flow of the river. Duan Li Dao's challenge had ignited his fighting spirit. The blood in his bones was boiling. He also wanted to see for himself how far his swordsmanship had reached, and whether he was a first-rate master or a second-rate master in the martial arts world. After these days of intensive research, the 7 forms of Divine Blade had completely transformed into the 7 forms of Godly Sword. Chu Li, a middle-aged man, slowly walked over. He wore a bamboo hat and a straw cape. He held a fishing rod in his hand and looked like a guest who came to the river to fish. "Yu Jintao?" Chu Li's gaze fell on the long blade on his waist. Yu Jintao took off his straw cape and bamboo hat. He held the long blade in his hand. "You've got guts." His face was like jade, and he was extraordinarily handsome. His body was tall and straight. Even though he held the blade, he did not look like someone who practiced martial arts. He looked more like a scholar. Chu Li's heart sank. This was a master who had completely restrained his essence and spirit. His cultivation was profound, and he was a true oneness of nature master. Chu Li said, "You want to kill me on behalf of Prince and Princeton?" Yu Jintao said lightly, "It seems like you already know." "That's right, I want to kill you." "Regardless of whether I'm good or evil, you want to kill me?" Chu Li said. Yu Jintao slowly pulled out his blade and said coldly, "You're from the house of Haiduk. Regardless of whether you're good or evil, I want to kill you." Chu Li held the modesty sword. They say you only kill evil people. You don't live up to your name. Chapter 317. Chi. A whistling sound rang out, and the saber light burst forth. Chu Li could only see a bright light in front of him. He could not see anything else. Saber lights covered the sky and covered the earth. They were everywhere, and there was no way to avoid them. He even had the urge to raise his hands and surrender. Chu Li's mind raced. This blade could affect one's spirit, and he could faintly see a trace of the blade's will. As expected, it lived up to its reputation. Ding! Chu Li's long sword struck the tip of the knife. The blade flashes that filled the sky suddenly disappeared. Yu Jintao took a step back and looked at Chu Li in surprise. This saber strike of his was the accumulation of the essence of his entire life's saber techniques. Its power was unparalleled, and he had never met a worthy opponent. Even if he was not affected by the saber intent, he could only retreat using his movement technique. It was impossible for him to accurately hit the tip of the saber. Chu Li was dazzled by the light of the blade, but he had the omniscient mirror. The movement of his blade and the flow of his heart technique were clearly reflected in Chu Li's mind. He could clearly see where the tip of the blade was and stabbed it with his sword. "Good, you do have some skills." Yu Jintao shouted and struck with his blade again. The light from the blade engulfed Chu Li. Chu Li thrust his sword again. Ding! The sky full of saber lights disappeared again. Chu Li secretly sighed at the purity of Yu Jintao's inner energy. Although it was inferior to Haiduk Lu's, he still could not handle it. His inner energy was not as pure as his opponent's, but the moment his meridians were slightly damaged, they would immediately be repaired. The sun-cultivating white tiger portrait, the sentient menace, and the life and death scripture had made his body extremely strong. Ding, 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 ding. Yu Jintao saw that his exquisite knife technique could not suppress Chu Li, so he relied on his deep and pure inner energy and kept swinging his knife, forcing Chu Li to take it head-on. Ding, 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 ding. The shadows of the swords and sabers covered the figures of the two. The sound of metal clashing drowned out the surging river water. Yu Jintao brandished his saber ferociously, his heart filled with determination. If he couldn't take down this little guy, then he would lose all his face. It seemed like he could only use his ultimate move. Buzz. The blade suddenly trembled, as if it had come to life. Chu Li perked up and urged the omniscient mirror even more. Yu Jintao's dantian surged with a strange colored inner force, circulating along another mental cultivation method at an extremely fast speed. Looking at its color, it was purer than normal inner energy. Chi. A streak of clear light flashed. The long saber seemed to have turned into water. Under the sunlight, it glowed with a clear luster, moist and refreshing. Chu Li retreated just as he was about to swing his blade, but he was still unable to avoid the blade. Chi! The saber light slashed across his left shoulder. A finger-long gash appeared, and blood gushed out. The heavenly demon lurking in his heart suddenly felt the wound. In the blink of an eye, the bleeding stopped, and it drilled back into the heart, motionless as if it did not exist. Chu Li sighed to himself. It was indeed a good blade technique. Yu Jintao's blade trembled and buzzed. Once again, it turned into a ray of clear light and slashed down. Chu Li took a step forward and was already behind him. The reason why he didn't use God's feet previously was because he wanted to see the power of this strange saber and see if it was worth learning. With his current body, this kind of injury was not even worth mentioning. Ding! With a crisp sound, The long saber blocked the long sword. Yu Jintao's saber became faster and faster, and a clear light flashed. It was like the flickering of sunlight on the calm surface of a lake. It did not have the threatening aura of the saber light earlier. Instead, it gave off a refreshing feeling, devoid of killing intent. Ding, 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 ding. Chu Li's strikes became faster and faster. Every sword strike was blocked. He used God's feet and waited for the tip of the sword to approach, but Yu Jintao's saber would still appear in time. The sword force became faster, and so did Yu Jintao's saber. In the end, only a clanging sound could be heard, but the appearance of the two people's sabers and swords could not be seen. Only two shadows could be seen colliding. Bang! A palm energy slammed into Chu Li's back. Chu Li suddenly flashed and appeared behind Yu Jintao. Yu Jintao was fully focused on Chu Li's sword. As soon as Chu Li flashed and disappeared, he immediately looked behind him. He was not able to dodge the palm attack. Ding! The long saber moved according to his will and split the palm attack. The tip of Chu Li's sword stopped in front of Yu Jintao's neck, and he withdrew his long sword. He sheathed his long sword and scoffed. "Senior Gu!" The omniscient mirror had already seen Guyu. He was lying in ambush in a forest 3 miles away from the mountain. While the two were fighting fiercely, he sneaked closer. At the most tense moment, he suddenly slammed his palm down. It was just right, ruthless, accurate, and vicious. If he did not have the omniscient mirror, he would definitely not be able to dodge it. Guyu was dressed in a brocade robe. He laughed. "Both of your sword techniques and blade techniques are superb." "Did Kingen send you?" Yu Jintao scoffed. He looked at Chu Li deeply and was surprised. He insulted him like that and ruined his reputation. He did not stab him with his sword just now. He did not know that his decades of chivalry made Chu Li show mercy. Guyu smiled. King and was afraid that there would be another accident this time, so he asked me to come and take a look. "Kingen," Yu Jintao sneered. "As expected, none of them are good." Guyu said, "Come, Elder Yu, let's work together to take care of this brat." "Work together?" Yu Jintao sneered. Guyu was surprised. "Elder Yu, can you take him down yourself?" He knew that Chu Li killed 3 grandmasters. He always thought that Chu Li had the help of the High Duke's public house. He did not expect his sword technique to be so powerful. "Goose, Graham," Yu Jintao scoffed. "Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude." Guyu's face turned red and said unhappily, "Elder Yu, are you crazy? I'm not as thick-skinned as you." Yu Jintao said coldly, "I'm not as shameless as you, not as Kingen. I kill my own, you kill yours. Work together? Humph, what a joke." Guyu was annoyed and said bluntly, "You with the surname Yu, can you defeat Chu Li? If I don't make a move, your reputation will be ruined." "Don't worry." Yu Jintao waved his hand. "My sword technique and Chu Li's are evenly matched. I'll take my leave now. I'll personally apologize to King, and goodbye." "Wait," Chu Li said. Yu Jintao looked at Chu Li. Chu Li said, "Senior Yu, I have a favor to ask." "Say it." Yu Jintao scoffed with a cold face. Chu Li said, "Senior Yu, please don't hurt anyone from the public house in the future." Yu Jintao looked at him and scoffed. "All right, I'll hide when I see anyone from the public house in the future. Goodbye." Chu Li closed fist saluted. Yu Jintao did not wait for Guyu to speak. He jumped down and dived into the surging river, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Guyu gritted his teeth and stared fiercely at the river. Chu Li looked at Guyu and said coldly, "You want to kill me?" "Sigh." Guyu shook his head. "Logically, Chief Chu, you're the princess's confidant. We're considered family. Unfortunately, His Highness has given his orders. I can't do anything about it. Then I'll take my leave first," he said, and was about to leave. Chu Li flashed and appeared 2 steps away from him, almost sticking to him. Senior Gu, are you leaving now? Could it be that Chief Chu wants me to stay? Gu Yu's face darkened, and his body tensed up. His gaze fell on his sword. After seeing Chu Li's sword, he was afraid. Chu Li shook his head and sighed. He swung his left hand. Chi, with a light whistle, the silver light hit Gu Yu in an instant. Gu Yu stared at his sword and was cautious. Chapter 3:18. P.S. Recommending the Xianxia masterpiece, Sect Leader of Azure Mystic. The author is very talented. I'm impressed. Gu Yu was shocked and quickly retreated 2 feet away. Chu Li looked at him coldly. Princeton is too much. Gu Yu shook his head. You can only blame yourself for being too capable. You've ruined His Highness' plans time and time again. If it was someone else, they would not have tolerated you. Chief Chu, for the princess, for the E-Public House, you should just accept your fate. Accept my fate? Chu Li said lightly. Accepting my fate means committing suicide to thank Princeton. This is fate. Gu Yu shook his head and sighed. Think about it. No matter how capable you are, can you be more powerful than His Highness? If His Highness wants you to die, can you not die? Why not? Chu Li said. Gu Yu sighed. Your martial arts is strong and your light body technique is amazing. If you can't win, you can just run away. But what about the princess? Because of you, the princess will definitely be neglected. Lady Xiao is not afraid of Prince's neglect, Chu Li said. Gu Yu said, Chief Chu, you are wrong. Which woman is not afraid of being neglected? One look, and you can tell that they have never done it. Sai, you have never been married, so you don't know about a couple. They fight at the head of the bed and reconcile at the end. There is no hatred between a couple. You are an outsider after all. The princess will also be in a difficult position. You don't have to worry about Lady Xiao. Chu Li scoffed. Gu Yu shook his head and said sincerely like a loyal elder thinking for him. You are still young. Although you are capable, you still don't understand the difficulties of the world. If you were alone, it would be easy. His Royal Highness would not make things difficult for you, but you have friends and subordinates. You can't just ignore their lives, right? Chu Li's face darkened. Gu Yu smiled. I heard that you came from the Temple of Autumn? Chu Li looked at him coldly. The Temple of Autumn was not afraid. They had already set up a formation. Even a grandmaster would not be able to find the temple. Gu Yu showed a sympathetic expression. The Temple of Autumn is unlucky. I'm afraid the entire temple will turn into a pile of ashes. But monks have transcended life and death, so there is nothing sad about it. Am I right? Princeton dares to do such a thing? Chu Li said. Gu Yu said, why wouldn't your highness dare? It's just a monastery, not the Great Lane Monastery. Why can't we destroy it? Then king and must have destroyed quite a number of temples. Chu Li scoffed. Gu Yu shook his head and said, there's no grudge between us. Why would I destroy a monastery? He suddenly became vigilant. She could vaguely feel that Chu Li was being perfunctory and trying to get information out of him. He looked down at the wound and saw that it was still bleeding. His expression changed. There's poison on the knife. Chu Li smiled. It's said that grandmasters aren't afraid of poison. I'll give it a try. A grandmaster's inner energy was pure. It was easy to expel the poison. Moreover, one's heart would have a warning sign. Once the poison was near, one would be able to sense it. Therefore, grandmasters would be helpless against poison. He smeared sunflower juice on the knife. This sungrass was not poisonous, and there was no harm in eating it. It only had one function, and that was to prevent blood from clotting. After receiving such a stab, the wound would continue to bleed. He was becoming more and more proficient in spiritual herbs, so he wanted to make full use of his advantages, but he didn't have time to concoct pills. So he made a fuss about the flying daggers. Once the flying daggers were out, it was full of murderous intent. No matter what, he had to kill his opponent. How could he not use poison? Sun grass was not poisonous, and the warning signs of a grandmaster were not there. It was easy to ignore it. By the time he realized it, there was already a large pool of blood. Grandmasters were also made of flesh and blood. The more blood they lost, the weaker their body would be. After talking so much with Guyu, it attracted his attention. At this moment, there was already a large pool of blood on the ground. He said slowly, "Do you feel very weak? I didn't expect you to be so despicable and shameless." Guyu shouted. Chuli said, "I can't compare to Senior Gu." Guyu sneered. "You think you can kill me? How would I know if I don't try?" Chuli said, "Are you feeling more and more dizzy and about to fall asleep?" Actually, Guyu did not bleed too much. It was not to the point of dizziness. Guyu's face was gloomy. He circulated his inner energy around his body. After turning one round, he found that there was only a faint invisible force in his wound. This was the source of the nonstop bleeding. His inner energy surged violently, and blood immediately splattered from his left shoulder, expelling the effect of the sunflower. Another pool of blood flowed out of his mouth, and he hurriedly pointed 2 fingers. Swoosh! A cold light shot out. Guyu had long been aware of his sneak attack. When he saw him disappear, he paid attention to his back. However, he did not expect Chu Li to appear beside him. Just as he moved away, his left shoulder was hit again. His old injury had not been healed, and now there was a new one. Guyu suddenly had the intention to retreat. He shouted, "Surname Chu, His Highness will send more people here. You can't escape." Before he finished speaking, he had already dashed out at an extremely fast speed. His light body technique was also top-notch. At this moment, he tried his best to use it. Chu Li shook his head and suddenly appeared behind him. He was almost stuck to him, and another knife shot out. Swoosh! The flying knife shot out. Guyu forcefully moved half a foot and pushed his palm energy. His palm energy could not stop the flying knife, and his right shoulder was still hit. "Surname Chu, do you want to take the lives of those women from Leisure Cloud Pub?" Guyu shouted. He did not expect Chu Li to be so difficult to deal with. Light body technique that made people despair, coupled with this sharp flying knife. Each knife was fatal. Chu Li frowned, disappeared in a flash, and shot out another flying knife. Guyu tried his best to dodge, but still could not. His right shoulder was hit again, and he shouted, "If I die, they won't live either." Chu Li said coldly, "Against the people from Leisure Cloud Pub, Dingjian?" Guyu said, "Yes, he has already captured the women from Leisure Cloud Pub. If I do not return, he will kill them." "Where did he take them?" Chu Li scoffed. Guyu laughed. "Do you think I will tell you?" Chu Li said, "Then you can die." "Surname Chu, you forced me to do this." Guyu's face suddenly turned red, and the aura around him suddenly increased. His body seemed to have doubled in size, and the bleeding wound was immediately sealed. It was as if he had turned into a giant beast, and his eyes were as sharp as knives. He stared at Chu Li and laughed coldly. "You forced me to use this, then die." In a flash, he appeared behind Chu Li and pressed his palm forward. The surging palm energy hit Chu Li like a raging wave. Chu Li suddenly disappeared. Guyu's body was tense, and he was wary of Chu Li's sudden appearance. In the end, Chu Li did not appear. Guyu's secret skill triggered his potential, and his skills increased. He originally wanted to kill Chu Li, but he did not expect Chu Li to disappear. This secret skill consumed 10 years of his lifespan every time it was used. When he thought of this, he was angry and hateful, and immediately thought of Chu Li's place, Leisure Cloud Pub. He laughed coldly. It was too late to go to Leisure Cloud Pub now. Ding Jian had already captured him and was waiting for him in the forest outside the town. Once the secret skill was used, it could last for an hour, and together with Ding Jian, they would definitely kill Chu Li. He was like a wisp of green smoke, and disappeared in the blink of an eye, shooting towards the forest outside of Chongming town. Chu Li saw Gu Yu use the secret skill, and knew that he could not fight him head-on. Once a Grandmaster's secret skill was used, its power was not to be underestimated, and it was better for him to avoid it. He saw Ding Jian's whereabouts in Gu Yu's mind. He suddenly appeared in a dense forest outside of Chongming town and saw Ding Jian in his mind. There were two beautiful women lying under Ding Jian's feet. They were the two maids of Leisure Cloud Pub. One was Chen Shui, and the other was Deng Xian. The two women were looking at Ding Jian in fear. Their acupuncture points were sealed, and they could not move. Chapter 319. Hee, young lady, being beautiful is a sin, do you know that? A strange smile appeared on Ding Jian's skinny face. Beauty is the source of trouble. Beautiful women like you often cause chaos in the world. Many people have died because of it. Chen Shui and Deng Xian laid on the ground, unable to move. Only their eyes and mouths could move. Chen Shui and Deng Xian looked at him in fear, especially at his smile. Deng Xian was speechless. Chen Shui, Luan Lotus Sword, Imperial Examinations, Burial Skeleton Sulfonamide Disease. Ku, Hangjia, Fu Mei, Hee, young lady, you're quite bold. Ding Jian's eyes were bright as he stopped at her nose. Your nose is very delicate and very beautiful. 60% of your face is supported by it. You should know how powerful my master is. Otherwise, you wouldn't have used such underhanded methods. Chu Li, Ding Jian shook his head. He can't even protect himself now. Don't you think that's strange? Chen Shui calmed down. My master can't even protect himself. Why did you kidnap us? What a smart girl. Ding Jian smiled. I like smart women, especially smart women with their noses cut off. I'm sure they won't be able to speak as clearly as this. Do you want to try? The blade was pressed against her cheek. The chill from the blade almost froze her body. Her teeth wanted to chatter, but she suppressed it. She looked at him quietly. You don't have a family, do you? Ding Jian frowned. What do you mean? You dare to threaten me? Looks like I'll have to show you what I'm made of. His blade was pressed against her cheek, slowly moving closer to Chen Shui's nose. Chen Shui suppressed her fear and continued. If you have a family, my master will repay you tenfold. I'm not joking. Please think twice. Repay me tenfold. Ding Jian stopped and smiled. Let's talk about it when he's alive. If you really had the confidence to kill my master, you wouldn't have captured us. However, if you let us go, my master would be grateful. Have mercy. Show mercy? Ding Jian laughed out loud as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. Do I still need him to show mercy? He shook his head and sighed. It's a pity for you, young lady. However, the more intelligent you are, the more Chu Li will be enraged if I destroy you. His qigong is powerful, and even I am afraid of him. As long as he is enraged, he will not be afraid, and he will definitely die. What if my young master manages to escape? Chen Shui shook her head. Then Senior's family must be careful. That was all he had to say. Senior, please consider. The long saber stopped at the side of his nose, and the feeling of being cut by the saber reached his heart. She couldn't tell if she had cut it or not. Ding Jian held onto his long saber. his skinny face filled with uncertainty. He knew how powerful Chu Li was, which was why he joined forces with Gu Yu and even took advantage of Chu Li and Yu Jintao's fight to ambush him. This was already the utmost care when facing a formidable opponent. But even so, he was still a little worried. Chu Li's light body technique was too powerful. If he really managed to escape, then he would be in deep trouble. His clan was prosperous and had a large population. Otherwise, he would not have sought refuge with King En. He was already so old, and he was also a grandmaster. Why would he have to suffer like this? Chen Shui pursed her red lips and said nothing. What a powerful young lady. Ding Jian looked at her and shook his head. It's a pity you can't practice martial arts, or else you would be someone else. What a pity! What a pity! Even if I let you go, Chu Li will not let me go. I can't let you go. Chu Li suddenly appeared between the two girls and flashed again. The three of them disappeared. Ding Jian shouted, "Chu Li!" His shout was like thunder, and the birds in the forest flew into the sky in panic. "Chu Li!" Ding Jian shouted. The three of them were nowhere to be seen. Ding Jian knew this was bad. This was what he was most afraid of. The next moment, Chu Li appeared at the Chu residence in Chongming Town. He placed the two girls by the stone table in the pagoda. "Rest well. I'll go take care of them first," Chen Shui quickly said. "Young master, be careful." Chu Li smiled and nodded. He patted the girls' shoulders, unsealed their acupuncture points, and disappeared in an instant. Chen Shui let out a long sigh of relief and leaned weakly on the stone table. Deng Xian also slumped on the stone table, without a trace of strength. "Sister Chen, you're amazing." Deng Xian shook her head. She looked smart and capable, with sharp eyes, a strong and decisive person. However, when she met Ding Jian's strange gaze, her body went soft, and her mind went blank. Her usual courage and decisiveness were useless. Chen Shui usually looked slow and gentle, but at a critical moment, she could be so calm and courageous. They did not know that Chu Li was already at the side, and only wanted to see their performance. Chen Shui leaned on the table and waved her hand. She smiled bitterly. "I'm so nervous that my stomach hurts, and my calf is about to cramp. Sister Chen, we still have to practice martial arts." Deng Xian sighed. "We can't always rely on Master to save us." "Yes." Chen Shui sighed. "I'm so envious of you." Sister Chen Ying entered Tai Hua Valley. I heard that she will become a grandmaster in the future. Deng Xian also looked envious. When that time comes, she will be able to help Master. Practicing martial arts is tough. Master doesn't want us to suffer. It's better than this. Deng Xian pursed her red lips. "I want to become a grandmaster. When Master comes back, we will beg him again." Chen Shui said. Deng Xian nodded. Chu Li appeared behind Gu Yu, and a knife shot out. Gu Yu swung his palm. Ding! The surging palm energy knocked away the flying knife. Gu Yu grinned. "You still dare to come back." "Chu Li, I admire your courage." Chu Li said, "Look at my secret skill." The surging spiritual energy came from all directions, turning into the inner energy of the scripture of duality. The inner energy of the scripture of duality circulated according to the heart technique of the infinite azure sea. 1 stack, 2 stacks, 3 stacks, 4 stacks, 5 stacks, 6 stacks. His meridians were already giving out warnings of being overwhelmed. 7 stacks. His meridians were about to collapse, and he could not hold on any longer. Swoosh! The knife flashed and appeared behind Gu Yu. Gu Yu could not react in time, and the knife had already pierced through her heart. Chu Li suddenly disappeared. He appeared behind Ding Jian. The knife flashed again, and pierced through Ding Jian's heart. Ding Jian was alarmed and wanted to dodge, but the knife had already pierced through. Puff! Chu Li looked up, and an arrow of blood shot out. Half of his meridians were destroyed. He weakly sat on the ground, cross-legged, and channeled. The spiritual energy from all directions rushed in again. He channeled the minute pulse cleansing technique, visualized the art of white tiger in his mind, and fought against the collapse of his meridians. At this moment, the heavenly demonic energy that had been motionless in his heart suddenly circulated one round around his meridians. The collapse of his meridians immediately stopped. The heavenly demonic energy softened again, and his meridians were slightly better. Chu Li hurriedly let it return to his heart. The heavenly demonic energy had been consumed by half. He opened his eyes and looked at the man in black who was slowly walking over, and shook his head. "Tell Princeton that if he does this again, I will go to the imperial residence of Princeton and wait outside the residence and kill them all." As he finished, he disappeared in a flash. Meng Ji's face was gloomy, and he came to the place where Chu Li disappeared. A pool of blood slowly seeped out of the grass. Looking at the black blood, Meng Ji gave up on the idea of killing him. This was a mouthful of extravasated blood. Spitting it out would actually help his injury. He was not too heavily injured, and since he was alone, it was better not to provoke him. Chapter 3:20. P.S. It's been half a month since I updated every day. Can I say I'm numb? I know I can't let this go. I have to hold on. I need everyone's support. Please subscribe. A few bucks from everyone is my source of income. Please subscribe. Chu Li appeared in the courtyard. The spiritual energy from the glories will float in. He was immediately energized. The spiritual energy from the glories was indeed a holy item for healing. After 2 hours, his injuries had stabilized. He would be back to normal in a few days. Xue hurried back and saw Chu Li sitting under the glory's will. She let out a long sigh of relief. Chu Li looked up at her. "Master, are you hurt?" Xue quickly said. "Elder," she went to the riverside and found a corpse. The second lady recognized it was from the imperial residence of Prince and Master. Was it done by Prince and... Chu Li said, "The second lady went too?" The second lady was worried and insisted on going. No one could dissuade her. Xue said. Chu Li shook his head. Xue's face was covered with a layer of frost. "This Prince and..." Chu Li smiled. "I'm fine. It's just a small injury." Was it Prince and's men who took the opportunity to attack Master? Xue asked. Chu Li said, "Yes. He did not plan to spread the news about Yu Jintao." "Despicable." Xue scoffed. Master Xiao Taiying's face was very ugly. "Should I tell the second miss about this? I think the second lady is very anxious." As they were talking, there was a knock on the door. Xue quickly opened the door. Xiao Shi wore a bluish-white gown and a white veil. She stood outside the door with Yang Su behind her. "Chu Li is back." Xiao Shi turned to look at the courtyard. Xue stepped aside. Xiao Shi entered the courtyard and stood in front of Chu Li. Yang Su stopped walking at a distance. Xue Ling also consciously moved back. Xiao Shi frowned and said, "Hurt again?" The fragrance from her body lingered around Chu Li's nose. Chu Li smiled. "Just a small injury. It's not a big deal." "Princeton did this," Xiao Shi said coldly, "sending Guyu to ambush, right?" Chu Li smiled. "King and really thinks highly of me. Guyu took the opportunity to ambush me when I was fighting with Yu Jintao, and Ding Jian captured Chen Xue and Deng Exan, forcing me to not be able to escape. Lastly, there was Meng Ji, the deputy chief of the imperial scribes. King An was indeed resourceful. He did not make a move. If you move, it will come in waves. You must have paid a hefty price for killing Guyu, right? Xiaoshi asked. She did not practice martial arts, but she had a deep understanding of martial arts. She had been ill for a long time and had wanted to cure her own body. He had read many medical books and martial arts books. Guyu was not an ordinary grandmaster. It would not be easy to kill him. Chuli smiled. Both sides will suffer, but my body is strong, so I can take it. Xiaoshi scoffed. Where's Ding Jian? Kill them too. Chuli smiled and said, since he dared to use such methods, if we don't retaliate with a thunderous method, we won't be able to intimidate others. King and will be unrestrained too. Xiaoshi sighed. In my opinion, send them to Tai Hua Valley. You can still protect them now, but what about when you enter the imperial residence in the future? Chuli remained silent. Xiaoshi said, Tai Hua Valley is guarded by a formation. King can't do anything about it. Moreover, their physiques are very good, suitable for Tai Hua Valley's martial arts. Mei Ao Shuang is cold on the outside, but warm on the inside. She will probably agree. Chuli pondered. If the third lady is here, he sighed as he said this. Once again, complicated feelings welled up in his heart. They had not been apart for long, but it felt like more than 10 years. The longing was like silk, entwining more and more tightly. He could not think about it. The more he thought about it, the more his heart ached. Xiaoshi said, let me say it. Difficult. Chuli said, most likely they won't agree. I have to ask Qin Shui and the others. Xiaoshi rolled her eyes at him and turned around. Go heal your wounds. Who asked you to be so stubborn? After Shui Ling sent them off, she returned to Chu Li's side. Master, actually Sister Qin Shui, and the others want to cultivate. They are very envious of Sister Qining. They can't wait to enter Tai Hua Valley. Chuli nodded slowly. He knew what the girls were thinking. They did not want to be a burden and wanted to help him, to repay him. But the more they thought about it, the more he did not want them to suffer. Now it seemed that he was too soft-hearted, and it was not beneficial. It was like a parent who spoiled their child. It was not good for their child's growth. Early in the morning, Chu Li was cultivating the sentient menace in the courtyard. He had been persisting in cultivating the sentient menace and had never stopped, but the progress was slow. He improved bit by bit, relying on dripping water to penetrate a stone. He realized more and more that his advantage was not in his inner energy, but in his strong body. If not, no matter how strong he was, he would not have survived until now. In terms of the purity of inner energy, the scripture of duality was far superior. But to unleash the power of the scripture of duality, he had to rely on the superposition of the infinite azure sea. If he wanted to compare the purity of inner energy with those who had cultivated for decades, or even centuries, he could only rely on the superposition of the infinite azure sea. This was too much of a burden on the meridians. Others could not use it. Master, Shui pushed the door open and entered with a stack of files in her hands. Her usually cold face was smiling like a flower. The news has spread. Chuli did not stop moving. What news? The news that you tied with Duan Li Dao. Shui smiled. Everyone finally knows how powerful you are. Chuli laughed, but he did not stop moving. Shui said, the protectors in the public house have changed their attitude. Who cares about that? Chuli did not care. Shui stuck out her tongue. Master, you just have to say something, and everyone will rush to do it. That's good, Chuli said. He also knew the importance of reputation. It was an invisible power that was sometimes more important than martial arts. It could make more people willingly follow his orders. Shui smiled. Everyone is feeling sorry. What's sorry? It's a pity that you have to follow the second lady into the imperial residence of King, and it's not like I won't come back. Shui smiled. That's different. Chu glanced at her. Don't worry, I'll bring you along. Shui suddenly smiled like a flower and said excitedly, Really? She had always thought that she had to stay in the public house to help Master gather information and maintain the operation of the Glory's courtyard. She had been looking for opportunities to plead. It's not as comfortable as the public house. You'll suffer. Chu shook his head. You think it's a cushy job. As long as I'm by Master's side, I'm not afraid of any hardships. Shui smiled. Chu said, Don't blame me if you suffer in the future. I won't leave even if I do. Shui said, The way King entreats Master, it will be troublesome in the future. She could guess that once he entered the public house, Master's situation would be very difficult, but she was very confident that no one could defeat Master, not even Kingen. Chu slowly finished the 72 forms. He returned to the courtyard and flipped through the files Shui sent. These were all the information Shui collected yesterday. It was not an easy task after a day. Fortunately, Lu and Hong Xiu helped. He flipped through a few files and suddenly frowned. Shui asked, Master, what happened? Something's wrong. Chu put down the files. Did you pay attention to the River Alliance? The River Alliance has risen very quickly these few years, Shui said, but it doesn't seem to have any evil deeds. Moreover, it's under the jurisdiction of the public house, right? Chapter 3:21. Is it that serious? Shui hesitated and looked down at the dossier. There was only one sentence written on the dossier. River Tribute Association joined the River Alliance on the 17th. It seemed that Master compared the previous information with the information here. His memory was far from hers. Chu said, This is the 10th association that the River Alliance has annexed, and it's a river association. So what if they control the river? Shui said, This is good. It's not easy to cause trouble, and there won't be any trouble. The River Alliance can't cause any trouble. Chu face was solemn. If they control the river, they can raise the price at will and collude with the government. How can the civilians survive? More importantly, if there's a war, the river will be controlled by others. He could not help but shake his head. If it was any other boundary, he would not spend so much effort. He did not have to worry about the Great Ji dynasty. However, this was within the territory of the public house. Due to the rules set by the ancestors, the public house could not intervene in the disputes between masters below innate mastery. They could only watch as they grew stronger. The government did not do anything and turned a blind eye. There might even be people from the government interfering. If this continued, the Chongming Road would be ruined and the foundation of the public house would be shaken. Shui said, What's the use of having more people? As long as the masters come out, they can be controlled immediately. Chu shook his head and looked at her. Shui's vision was the same as the people of today. Martial arts was the most important, and they felt that martial arts could solve everything. He came from another world and had a different concept from the people of today. He knew the importance of the river, and it needed to be in his own hands. This was related to intelligence and money. They were all important resources. How could they give it away? The public house never paid attention to this. They only focused on martial arts, spirit herbs, and spirit flowers. I have to take a look. He sighed. Once he entered the imperial residence of King, and he was afraid that he would have to fight all day and would not have the time to care about these things. This was a major hidden danger. He had to find out before the wedding. It would be best if he could solve it before he could enter the imperial residence with peace of mind. Master, the wedding is in half a month. Shui frowned. Let's check first. Chu said, I will go and take a look myself. I will go with you, Master. Shui said. Chu shook his head and said, You stay here and collect information. I want more detailed information about the River Alliance. Yes, Xue Ling helplessly agreed. As they were talking, Xiao Shi came to the door. Let's go to Tai Hua Valley. She was dressed in a bluish-white gown, and a white veil covered her face, revealing only her limpid eyes. Chuli asked, Are we going today? What are you waiting for? Xiao Shi said, Oh, I understand. I haven't discussed it with Qin Shui and the others yet. I want them to make the decision, right? Chuli smiled. All right, today it is then. Then let's go. Xiao Shi urged. It's so boring to stay in the public house. Let's go out and relax. It'll be a waste of time, even if I go. I'm afraid I'll be embarrassed. Chuli said, May Ao Shuang will not agree to it. Use third sister's reputation. Xiao Shi said, If it doesn't work, then forget it. Of course, she was going there to solve the problem of Leisure Cloud Pub and relieve his worries. She also wanted to go out and get some fresh air. She didn't want to stay in the mansion. As the wedding approached, the atmosphere in the public house was getting more and more depressing. All of this was because of the eldest, Master Xiao Taiying. Xiao Taiying did not feel excited at all. Instead, his face was getting worse. The people in the public house felt the eldest master's mood. They also felt that this wedding was strange. They felt that something was not right. Hence, they were no longer joyful. They were all careful not to mention it. Because of this, the maids of the Island of Symphony were also more careful. This made her very angry, and she did not want to stay any longer. Chuli said, Xue Ling, bring me that bag. All right. Xue Ling entered the house and brought back a big bag. Xiao Shi glanced at it. What's inside? We're moving. It's for Qining. Chuli said, Everyone in Tai Hua Valley lives a life of luxury. Xiao Shi said, Why would they lack anything? Chuli shook his head. How can cultivation be without suffering? Let's go. He lifted the bag with his left hand and held Xiao Shi's wrist with his right. The two disappeared. After a few flashes, the two arrived at a large lake. It was the lake where Tai Hua Valley was located. Xiao Shi looked around. This is Tai Hua Valley? When she heard the name, she thought it was a deep mountain. Chuli smiled, surprised. The ancestors of Tai Hua Valley were quite amazing. Xiao Shi nodded. They actually thought of this idea. Tai Hua Valley was very mysterious. Until now, no one knew where it was. Many people wanted to investigate. In the end, there was no result. So that was the case. They were investigating deep in the mountains and forests. Who would have thought of investigating on the lake? Chuli turned to look at Xiao Shi. Valley leader Mei has a bad temper. Lady Xiao Shi has to bear with it. Xiao Shi said, Mei Ao Shuang doesn't care about men. She isn't that bad to women. She doesn't like the people of the public house. Chuli said. Xiao Shi nodded. Mei Ao Shuang and Xiao Qi were good friends. This was a friendship forged through life and death in the martial arts world. It would not change because of their identities. He and Chu Li were two completely different things. She was from the public house. She might not buy it. Chu Li was even worse. He was a man and a member of the public house. He had both. It was already good enough that she did not kill him. If she wanted to solve this, she could only do it herself. Don't worry. It's just a closed door. I can take it. Xiao Shi said, Let's find her first. Chu Li did not say anything more. He raised his head and let out a long whistle. The whistle was low and deep. It spread along the surface of the lake like waves. It was endless and endless. It spread across the entire lake. Not long after, a whistling sound could be heard. As the whistle stopped, a small boat floated over. From afar, It looked like a leaf drifting with the waves. However, its speed was surprisingly fast. In the blink of an eye, it was near. Mei Ao Shuang wore a snow-white gown. It was spotless. She stood alone at the bow of the boat. Her eyes were like lightning. She scoffed. "Chu Li, what are you doing here?" Chu Li said, "Valley Leader Mei, let me introduce you. This is the second lady, Xiao Shi. It's rare for second lady Xiao Shi to grace us with your presence." Mei Ao Shuang's face was still cold. She scoffed. "What brings you here?" Chu Li closed fist saluted. "Valley Leader Mei, I want to see Chinning." "No," Mei Ao Shuang said coldly. "She's in isolated cultivation. You can't disturb her." Chu Li said unhappily, "Valley Leader Mei, didn't we agree that I can visit her at any time? Has it changed?" "It hasn't changed." Mei Ao Shuang was unmoved. She said coldly, "If she's not in isolated cultivation, you can visit her. If she's in isolated cultivation, then there's nothing we can do. You can't ask her to come out, right? Then when will she reach the Grandmaster's boundary?" Chu Li frowned and stared at her. Mei Ao Shuang scoffed. She had a look of, "What can you do to me?" Chu Li's teeth were itching. He wanted to beat her up. He had a premonition that this trip would be in vain. Xiao Shi said, "Miss Mei, I have something to talk to you in private." "Follow me." Mei Ao Shuang looked at her indifferently. She nodded. The small boat drifted to the shore. Chapter 322. P.S. Please subscribe. It's 6 chapters again. Chu Li was stunned. He shook his head and laughed. This Mei Ao Shuang always found an opportunity to embarrass him. However, he was not afraid that Mei Ao Shuang would play some tricks to harm Xiao Shi. After all, she was Xiao Qi's elder sister. Mei Ao Shuang waited until Chu Li's shadow disappeared before she looked at Xiao Shi. "Second lady, aren't you afraid that I will harm you?" Xiao Shi chuckled and took off her veil, revealing her beautiful face. "You're my sworn friend. What's there to be afraid of? I'm here to ask you a favor." "What is it?" Mei Ao Shuang's gown fluttered in the wind, and her hair fluttered in the wind. "I'll say this first. I don't want to have anything to do with the House of High Dukes. It's not about the public house." Xiao Shi said, "Chunying's sister, Valley Leader, do you know her?" "Yes, Chen Shui. Her aptitude is not bad." Mei Ao Shuang nodded lightly. Back then, she not only wanted to take in Chunying, but she also wanted to take in Chen Shui. When she thought of this, she gritted her teeth and wanted to give Chu Li a good beating. "You've seen the others too?" Xiao Shi said. Mei Ao Shuang snorted. "Their aptitudes are not bad." "What a pity." "I'm sure you're aware of their origins. Valley Master." Xiao Shi's bright eyes flickered as she smiled. Mei Ao Shuang nodded. Xiao Shi sighed. "Chu Li is leaving the public house to follow me to the imperial residence of King, and he won't be able to take care of them anymore." "Humph, he's acting like a man on this matter." Mei Ao Shuang scoffed. Seeing that Mei Ao Shuang did not have a good impression of Chu Li, Chunying had no choice but to tell her what Chu Li had done. "Therefore, I was wondering if Valley Leader Mei could take them in as disciples. Their physiques are suitable to cultivate the absolute arts of Tai Hua Valley." "Too many." Mei Ao Shuang had just revealed an excited expression when she immediately frowned. Xiao Shi chuckled. "I've only heard of people complaining that there are too few talented disciples, but I've never heard of anyone complaining that there are too many. The space in the valley is limited." Mei Ao Shuang said, "I'm afraid that we won't be able to accommodate more than 40 disciples all of a sudden. Moreover, if there are too many disciples, it's inevitable that the teaching will be sloppy. This may not be a good thing." "If that's the case, then this won't work out." Xiao Shi shook her head and sighed. Mei Ao Shuang hurriedly said, "If 10 come in, no problem." All of these girls had extraordinary aptitudes, and if he brought them into the valley, they would definitely have great achievements in the future. It was truly a rare opportunity. Seoshur shook her head lightly. He looked into the distance. Chuli had already turned into a small black dot, barely discernible. She sighed. He won't agree. 15? Mei Ao Shuang frowned and said, I really can't take any more. Forget it then. Seoshur smiled and said, I was planning to reveal a secret to thank you for your help. Valley Master Mei, looks like I don't have to say any more. What secret? Mei Ao Shuang asked. Xiaoshur said, it's nothing much. All of their physiques are suitable to cultivate the antique studies of Tai Hua Valley. Valley Master Mei wouldn't believe me if I said it's innate, right? Mei Ao Shuang was silent for a moment, then slowly nodded. It should be some kind of strange art. She was very curious about this, and once asked Chuning about it. However, Chuning told her that she had sworn not to tell anyone about it. She could only suppress her curiosity and not ask further. Seoshur's words were like a feather sweeping across her heart. Xiaoshur said, to Tai Hua Valley, this kind of mystical art is the foundation for its prosperity. Unfortunately, Valley Leader Mei doesn't seem to like Chuli. I don't like any stinky man. Mei Ao Shuang snorted. Seoshur smiled and nodded. Stinky men, none of them are good. Mei Ao Shuang's pink face kept changing. She was hesitant. If he really wanted to take in these 40 over-disciples, it would certainly be able to prosper Tai Hua Valley, but there would be many hidden dangers. The most important thing was not that Tai Hua Valley was not big enough, but that the most important person in the hearts of these 40 over-disciples was Chuli. Chuli was from the House of High Dukes. Once Chuli gave the order, they might run back to the High Dukes' public house. The grudge between Tai Hua Valley and the High Dukes' public house was huge. If he did this, wouldn't he be helping the enemy? Little sister is here. You can't fight with the House of High Dukes. Seoshur seemed to have seen through Mei Ao Shuang's thoughts. Chuli would not bear to put Chuning and the others in a difficult position, so you don't have to worry about this. This strange technique is in Chuli's hands, asked Mei Ao Shuang. Seoshur said, Valley Leader, Mei, why don't you ask him yourself? If he promises to create 10 disciples for me every year, then I will accept them. Mei Ao Shuang said. Xiaoshur said, I'm afraid it won't work. Can he do it? Mei Ao Shuang scoffed. Xiaoshur said, whether he can do it or not is up to him. I don't know either. You have to ask him. Then go ask him. Mei Ao Shuang said. The boat suddenly turned in a circle and sped back. Chuli was by the lake and saw the boat floating back. Seoshur's bright eyes were brighter than the lake water. She looked at him with a smile and nodded faintly. Chuli was slightly happy. It seemed that there was hope. Chu Li, the second lady, said that you have a secret technique that can change your aptitude and become suitable to cultivate the antique study of Tai Hua Valley. Mei Ao Shuang said coldly. Chu Li pondered and nodded. This is an ancient strange technique. I will not teach it to outsiders. Then there is nothing more to say. Mei Ao Shuang said, Second lady, please disembark. Seoshur smiled. Don't rush, speak slowly. Mei Ao Shuang stared at Chu Li angrily, but Chu Li remained silent. After a while, Chu Li reluctantly opened his mouth. Sun cultivating white tiger portrait. Have you heard of it, Valley Leader Mei? Mei Ao Shuang scoffed. Of course. Their Tai Hua Valley's martial arts and torso cultivation had a deep relationship. Of course, they had heard of the sun cultivating white tiger portrait. Chu Li said, they cultivated the sun cultivating white tiger portrait. Mei Ao Shuang snorted, impossible. Although she had never cultivated the sun cultivating white tiger portrait, She had heard of it. The power of the sun cultivating white tiger portrait was boundless, but it was extremely difficult to learn. Who would believe that 50 people could learn it? Chu Li smiled. He was certain that he had seen through Mei Ao Shuang's thoughts. Mei Ao Shuang said, "It's impossible for 50 people to learn it." Chu Li said, "It's a coincidence. It can't be repeated. In this world, only they can cultivate the sun cultivating white tiger portrait." Mei Ao Shuang stared at him as if she wanted to see through his heart. Chu Li spread his hands and said, "It's fine if you don't believe me. Valley Leader Mei, I will find another place to settle them. Their physiques are compatible with the antique study of Taihua Valley. Valley Leader Mei and the Third Lady are sworn friends. That's why they were sent here. Since you are unwilling, I dare not force you." Seeing that he had suddenly become so tough, Mei Ao Shuang actually believed him. She scoffed. "How do you want to settle them?" "Just enter the public house." Chu Li said, "My island is empty, just right for them to enter." What a waste. Mei Ao Shuang gritted her teeth and stared at him hatefully. Her gown fluttered even though there was no wind. Seosher saw that she was about to make a move and coughed lightly. How can their cultivation in the public house compare to Taihua Valley? Chu Li spread his hands. "I can't use a sword to force Valley Leader Mei to agree. After all, they are sworn friends of the Third Lady." Chu Li spread his hands. "I can't use a sword to force Valley Leader Mei to agree, right? After all, they are sworn friends of the Third Lady." His words never left the topic of sworn friends. Mei Ao Shuang was annoyed listening to him. She knew that he was mocking her, but she had no words to retort. Seosher said, "Valley Leader, Mei, why don't you take them into the valley for my sake?" Chu Li turned his head and looked at the lake in the distance. Seosher said, "They are also pitiful. Everyone knows that they are Chu Li's weakness. If someone wants to plot against Chu Li, they will deal with them first. This time, Chen Shui and Deng Xian were kidnapped. If it wasn't for Chu Li, they would have died." "Chen Shui," Mei Ao Shuang quickly said. Seosher nodded lightly. Mei Ao Shuang glared at Chu Li. "All right, I'll take them in." Chu Li said, "Valley Leader Mei, let's make this clear first. If I want to visit, I will come. You can't stop me. I don't want to encounter a situation like today again." Chapter 3:23. Chu Li closed fist saluted and smiled. "Thank you, Valley Leader Mei." Mei Ao Shuang took a deep breath and stared at him coldly. "Chu Li, I heard you tied with Duan Li Dao Yu Jin Tao." Chu Li said, "Valley Leader Mei, you want to spar again?" "Let's spar then. I'm not afraid of you. Come on." Mei Ao Shuang scoffed and slammed her palm. She took in more than 40 disciples and gained a great advantage, but seeing Chu Li's arrogant look, she couldn't help but get angry. Her hands itched, and she wanted to teach him a lesson. Chu Li punched out lightly. Bang! A muffled sound, and Mei Ao Shuang flew out. She flew out from the boat and took a few steps in the air to reduce most of the force and landed on the surface of the lake. Bang! She pressed her palm on the surface of the lake, and the lake water shot out like a bomb. Using the rebound from her palm, she flew back to the boat. The boat swayed back and forth. Seosher staggered and lost her balance and fell into the lake. Chu Li appeared on the boat in a flash and held her wrist. They disappeared and appeared on the shore. Mei Ao Shuang saw that Seosher was about to fall into the lake and was about to make a move, but Chu Li had already appeared on the shore with her. She let out a long sigh of relief. Her heart trembled, and her anger grew. "Your light body technique is really powerful." Again, she leaped into the air and swooped down like a golden eagle. Her white hand was in front of her and pushed towards Chu Li. Her palm energy surged out. Chu Li did not dodge and lightly punched again. High Duke Lu's fist technique was really powerful, and the fist energy was as solid as a rock. Bang! Mei Ao Shuang somersaulted in the air, and when she landed again, her sword flashed, and she became one with her sword and appeared in front of Chu Li. Ding! Chu Li attacked. The two swords clashed, and Mei Ao Shuang's sword was deflected. Chu Li stabbed again with lightning speed, and Mei Ao Shuang could not dodge in time. The tip of the sword retracted in front of her throat. Chu Li sheathed his sword and closed fist saluted. Mei Ao Shuang took a deep breath. She slowly sheathed her sword, and her pink face was uncertain. Xiao Shi was a little worried that she would not be able to back down, and glared at Chu Li. Chu Li, on the other hand, looked calm. He smiled and said, "I'm sorry. Valley Leader Mei, you really live up to your reputation." Mei Ao Shuang coldly snorted, "I'm not as good as you." Chu Li said, "I know that Valley Leader Mei is an expert in Tai Hua Palm." The absolute art of Tai Hua Valley was the Tai Hua Palm. Its power was astonishing, but Mei Ao Shuang had never used it. She had hidden some of her true abilities. Mei Ao Shuang cast a sidelong glance at him and scoffed. "The great Hua Palm's murderous aura is too strong. Once they come in, I will personally supervise them. Don't worry. Their aptitude will not be wasted." "Thank you, Valley Leader Mei." Chu Li solemnly closed fist saluted and passed the bag to Mei Ao Shuang. "This is for Chinning. Please pass it to her, Valley Leader." "I will give it to her." Mei Ao Shuang took the bundle. Xiao Shi remained silent at the side, trying her best to hide her surprise. She really could not understand why Mei Ao Shuang's attitude had suddenly changed. She was not angry because she had lost. On the contrary, he was much calmer, even though he still looked arrogant and unfriendly. However, Chu Li understood Mei Ao Shuang's temper. She was extremely disdainful of men who were weaker than her. She even disdained to speak. Only men who were stronger than her had the right to speak. Mei Ao Shuang cast a sidelong glance at Chu Li and sighed to herself. She had always felt that he was not as good as her, but he was arrogant deep in his bones. That was why she did not like him, no matter how she looked at him. After these few moves, she suddenly understood that Chu Li was no longer the original Chu Li. He was far better than her, so he had the right to be arrogant. She calmed herself down. Although her expression did not change, her bones were different. Early in the morning, downstream of the river, a boat with a black awning was sailing leisurely. The person rowing the boat was an old man with a hunchback. His face was full of wrinkles, and his eyes were muddy. However, his hands were thick and strong. His veins were faintly visible, but he was still steady and strong. Inside the black awning boat, Chu Li meditated and did not move an inch. Xiao Shi was lying on the couch, reading a book. Chu Li's white robe was spotless, and he looked dignified. Xiao Shi wore a bluish-white gown. She took off her white veil, revealing a beautiful face like white jade. Her limpid eyes glanced at Chu Li from time to time. Seeing that Chu Li slowly opened his eyes, Xiao Shi put down her book and stretched, revealing her amazing curves. She asked lazily, "You really have nothing better to do than worry. Why do you care about the matters of the river?" "I want to return to the public house," Chu Li said. Xiao Shi yawned. "Big brother doesn't even care. He'll blame you for being a busybody and causing trouble. Once the house of High Duke interfered with the river, the magistrate would definitely impeach them. The imperial house would inevitably summon them for questioning." Chu Li said, "Then we'll do it secretly." "Is the river that important?" Xiao Shi said, "No matter how powerful the River Alliance is, 2 grandmasters are enough to wipe them out. Why do we need to pay so much attention?" Chu Li sighed. This was what the people were thinking. It was not difficult to destroy the River Alliance, but it was not easy to do what the River Alliance did. It was not just about having strong martial arts. Seoshur said, "All right, do what you want. I don't want to return to the public house anyway. It's better to stay outside until the day of the wedding." "Master Seoshur will definitely go crazy." Chu Li smiled. Seoshur scoffed. "Big brother is going crazy now." Worry makes one confused. Once he thinks about the lady entering the imperial residence of King, and he can't help but be anxious, Chu Li said. Seoshur waved her hand and said, "Forget it. Let's not talk about him. Let's go out and take a look." The two of them went out of the cabin and came to the bow, welcoming the fresh air. The surface of the river was wide. The morning air was mixed with the water vapor from the river surface. It was especially refreshing when it entered the body, and they could not help but feel refreshed. "There's no one here," Seoshur said. Chu Li pointed to the back. Seoshur turned her head and looked. Not far away, a gorgeous big ship appeared. It was extremely fast. The sound of guzheng and flute floated from the ship. The combination of guzheng and flute was like two colorful phoenixes dancing in the air. It was refreshing to hear. "How dare the people from the Jiangchuan Alliance come here?" The old boatman muttered softly. Chu Li had already seen the situation on the big ship. There was a table at the bow of the ship. The table was covered with a white blanket. A handsome young man sat on the blanket. He waved a white jade fan in his hand. He had an elegant temperament and looked like a scholar. On his left and right were two beautiful maids. The two women's eyebrows were filled with elegance, fresh and refined. They were definitely not ordinary. The other two beautiful maids were playing the guzheng and flute on the other side of the table. The handsome young man stared at the two women attentively, listening to the guzheng and flute. He squinted his eyes from time to time, showing an intoxicated and leisurely look. The two beautiful maids beside him were also listening quietly. Other than the five of them, there were 8 boatmen and 10 protectors on the big ship. 2 of the 10 protectors were innate masters. Their temperament was fierce and threatening. Chu Li turned his head and smiled. "Which master is this?" "Master, you don't know him?" The boatman looked at the gorgeous big ship and shook his head. "You don't even know Master Fei?" Chu Li smiled. "It's my first time on a boat. I know nothing about the customs along the river." The young alliance leader of the Jiangchuan Alliance, Han Fei. Everyone calls him Master Fei. The boatman shook his head and sighed. "The most romantic and elegant one." Chu Li was interested that his 4 beautiful maids were all innate masters. There were many innate masters in the House of High Dukes, but they were rare in the martial arts world. They were enough to run amok. There were 6 innate masters on a ship. The strength of the Jiangchuan Alliance should not be underestimated. However, he knew that the Jiangchuan Alliance and the River Alliance divided the Li River and the Chongming Road into 2. Initially, their strength was about the same. However, in recent years, the River Alliance had improved by leaps and bounds and had surpassed the Jiangchuan Alliance. Jiangchuan Alliance. I remember there's still a River Alliance, Chu Li said. Chapter 324. P.S. Seeking recommendation votes. Hoping to stay on the recommendation votes leaderboard for a while longer to feel the master's dominance. Mr. Fei. Chu Li looked at Han Fei and smiled. Seoshur turned to look at him. Envious? Chu Li laughed. Seoshur said, hugging women on both sides. He really is a rich family's young master. Chu Li shook his head. This one is not simple. It's really lively. He pointed to the back again. Seoshur looked over. There was another big boat rushing out from the mist on the vast river surface. This big boat was not inferior to Mr. Fei's boat. It was more luxurious and faster. It caught up to Mr. Fay's big boat, like an arrow leaving the bow. The 12 boatmen on the boat paddled at the same time. It was really like fish in the water. Seosher turned to look at the old boatman. The old boatman rubbed his eyebrows. His cloudy eyes tried hard to look. He quickly said, "Master lady, it's better to enter the boat." "Tell me, who is it?" Seosher said. She had already seen the people on the boat. A burly young man stood at the front of the boat. He had a round face, big eyes flashing, his purple cloak fluttering in the wind. There were 4 middle-aged men beside him, their hands holding onto long knives. They were full of killing intent. When the big boat overtook Mr. Fay's boat, he glanced sideways and sneered. His eyes looked at the protectors, and finally his gaze landed on Chu Li and Seosher. The burly young man's eyes lit up. The boatman quickly said, "This is young clan leader Zhou of the River Alliance. You can't mess with him. You guys better hide in the boat. He likes beautiful ladies the most." Seosher had already covered her face with a white veil. Her face could not be seen clearly, but her graceful figure was still there. It was obvious that she was a beauty. Seosher just came out, and now she had to go in again. She was being forced by a nobody. She was really not satisfied. She sneered. "What? Don't tell me he dares to snatch women." The boatman saw young clan leader Zhou looking over. He stomped his feet. "Sigh, the River Alliance is lawless. Who can control them? I would like to see. I wonder if he dares to do anything." Seosher scoffed. She looked at Chu Li. She smiled faintly. This was the perfect opportunity for Chu Li to use against him. Chu Li was worried about where to start. After all, it was the High Duke's public house, and they could not control the River Alliance. If he were to act rashly, he would be crossing the line. This was the most taboo matter, and it would definitely lead to the impeachment of the officials of the imperial court. However, if the people from the River Alliance took the initiative to provoke the House of High Dukes, then they could not blame anyone. Chu Li smiled. "Thank you." Seosher scoffed. "What's the use of messing with a young master like him?" Chu Li shook his head and smiled. "If you provoke the small ones, you'll be able to understand the real situation." "All right, you decide." Seosher said. "Move the boat closer." Young clan leader Zhou pointed at Seosher from the bow of the boat. The big ship slightly changed direction, and in the blink of an eye, it was in front of the black awning ship. The boatman did not dare to move anymore. He put down the oars and looked at Chu Li and Seosher helplessly. In a low voice, he said, "Both of you, please bear with it for a while. Otherwise, you will face a fatal disaster. Young miss, it's better for you to accept your fate now that this ancestor has taken a fancy to you." Seosher rolled her eyes at him. "Shut up." The boatman shook his head and sighed. He felt that it was a pity. He was still young and full of vigor. He did not know that the ways of the world were tough, and the situation was stronger than him. At this time, if he continued to make a fuss with his temper, he would really lose his life. Many women had died in the hands of young clan leader Zhou. She would not make a difference. Young clan leader Zhou looked down at Chu Li and Seosher. He closed fist saluted and smiled. "Both of you, I am Zhou Xiaohe. Where are you heading to?" "Chongming Town." Chu Li closed fist saluted. "Brother, do you have any advice for us?" "Ha, Chongming Town. That's a good place to go." Zhou Xiaohe laughed heartily. "Just nice. My boat is heading to Chongming Town too. Why don't I give you a lift? The journey is lonely. It's always good to have someone to talk to." "Thank you for your kindness, brother." Chu Li closed fist saluted. "We've traveled all the way here and wanted to understand more about the local customs. A boat like this is just right. I appreciate your kindness, but there's no need for it. When will your boat reach Chongming Town?" So Xiaohe laughed heartily. "It's a waste of time. Come, come, come." He gave a look. The middle-aged protector behind him leaped up and swept towards the black awning boat. Humph! A soft snort was heard, and a cold light shot out. The middle-aged protector did not have time to move in the air. He waved his knife like a waterfall and slashed fiercely. Ding! A lancet was knocked away and fell into the water. His body stagnated. He could not reach the black awning boat and was about to fall into the water. The other middle-aged protector waved his long bamboo pole. The middle-aged protector in the air tiptoed on the bamboo pole and leaped back to the big boat. He looked over coldly. Another luxurious ship had also arrived in front of them. In front of the boat's railing, a beautiful maid was holding a flying knife. She looked like she was about to throw it. When she saw the middle-aged protector leaping back to the big boat, she then kept the knife. Her pretty face was filled with a cold smile and disdain. The sound of the gouging and flute did not stop. Mr. Fay was still immersed in the music and did not care about anything else. This beautiful maid was originally leaning on his left side like a little bird. Now, she was valiant and her gaze was sharp. It was as if she was a different person. "Who are you?" So Xiaohe shouted. His voice was like a thunderclap trying to cut off the sound of the gouging. The two ladies were not affected at all. They continued to focus on playing the gouging and flute and ignored him. Mr. Fay also closed his eyes and looked like he was enjoying himself. "Pretentious!" Zhou Xiaohe clenched his teeth and shouted, "If you don't say anything, don't think of leaving." He looked at Mr. Fay's imposing manner with beautiful maids in his arms and the sound of the gouging lingering around him. It was a supreme enjoyment. Then he looked at the four big men behind him. He was filled with hatred and killing intent. Mr. Fay waved his hand, and the sound of the gouging and flute stopped. Han Fei opened his eyes and looked at Zhou Xiaohe. "Who are you?" "I am Zhou Xiaohe." "Oh, Zhou Xiaohe. Who is Zhou Xiaohe?" Han Fei turned his head and smiled at the four beautiful maids. "Have you heard of him?" "Mister, I have heard of Zhou Dajiang, but I have never heard of Zhou Xiaohe." The beautiful maid leaning on his right smiled. "Are we ignorant? Zhou Dajiang is my father." Zhou Xiaohe scoffed and puffed up his chest. Han Fei picked up a white jade cup and took a sip of wine. He said lazily, "Only Zhou Dajiang is qualified to talk to me. You? Get lost." Zhou Xiaohe sneered. "What a big tone. Tell me your name." "You are not qualified to hear my name. Get lost." Han Fei put down the white jade cup and did not even look at him. He smiled. "Young Yen, your wine-making skills are getting better." The beautiful maid leaning on his right pursed her lips and smiled. "Thank you for the compliment, mister." Zhou Xiaohe gritted his teeth, but he was a little worried. With such an attitude and such a big tone, what if he was really a tough nut to crack? He held back his anger and decided to send someone to investigate first. It would not be too late to make a decision after the investigation was done. He could run amok for so long and remain safe and sound. Of course, it was because of his father's prowess, but it was also because of his cautiousness. He looked reckless and impulsive, but he could control himself during crucial moments and would not cause trouble. Chu Li felt that it was a pity that Zhou Xiaohe actually retreated. Han Fei closed fist saluted and smiled at Chu Li. "Brother, why don't you come aboard and have a chat?" Chu Li smiled. "I dare not. Thank you for your help. We met by chance, and I dare not disturb you." "Ha ha!" Han Fei laughed heartily. "It's nothing. Killing a clown like this is no different from killing a bug." Chapter 325. The big boat slowly turned around, and in the blink of an eye, it was already in front and disappeared on the vast river. The boatman let out a long sigh of relief and wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Seo Shirt gave him a sidelong glance. The boatman said embarrassedly, "At least we escaped. Lady, it's not that I'm a coward, it's that young clan leader Zoe is really powerful. If I robbed you, my boat would be in trouble too. I only have this boat in my life. Without it, I won't have food to eat." Seo Shirt scoffed. "He's so tyrannical and evil. Does no one care? He's clan leader Zoe's son. Who dares to care? Does this clan leader Zoe think he can be lawless, a local tyrant?" Sigh. "Clan leader Zoe is a local tyrant here. No one dares to provoke him. What about the authorities?" "The authorities? He. Looks like he's in cahoots with the authorities." The boatman looked around cautiously and said in a low voice, "Clan leader Zoe is the brother-in-law of the town of Cloud's mayor." Seo Shirt looked at Chu Li and smiled. "The mayor of the town of Clouds? Is that a rumor? Moreover, he's just the mayor of the town of Clouds, not the brother-in-law of the mayors of the 15 cities along the river." Sigh. "Lady, it seems like you don't know the ways of the world. Since ancient times, officials have always protected each other. The other mayors have to give them some face. Moreover, this clan leader Zoe knows how to conduct himself. He'll feed all the mayors. How can the civilians do anything? You know quite a lot, uncle." Seo Shirt said. The boatman shook his head. "Everyone knows about this, but so what? Who dares to care? Who can control the mayor?" Seo Shirt said, "Didn't those martial arts heroes take care of the mayor? None of those heroes have a good ending. If they kill the mayor, the House of High Dukes will definitely step in." Sigh. "In short, the officials protect each other. There's no way for the civilians to live." Seo Shirt's face under the white veil darkened slightly. She had always thought that the House of High Dukes should be the protectors in the hearts of the civilians. Who would have thought that it would turn out like this? They would become the ones helping the evil. While the two of them were talking, Chu Li was also talking to Han Fei. Han Fei said, "Brother, I am Han Fei. This So Xiaohe is not a good person. After I leave, he will definitely cause trouble for you and your wife. The River Alliance is powerful, so it's better that you follow me." The four maids felt strange. The young master had always been proud and arrogant. He had never made friends with a scholar like this. Could it be that there was something special about him, or was it because of his wife's beauty? Chu Li saw Han Fei's enthusiasm. It would be too unreasonable for him to reject him again. He had more or less seen the situation of the River Alliance. Just as he expected, it had already become their own backyard, where they could do whatever they wanted without any scruples. "All right, I'll be troubling you then." Chu Li gave a fist salute and smiled. This Mr. Fei was the young alliance master of the Jiang-Chuan Alliance. The Jiang-Chuan Alliance and the River Alliance jointly controlled the river traffic, so he needed to understand more. A ladder was lowered from the ship. Two beautiful maids came down from the ship and onto the small boat. They helped Seo Shirt onto the ship. Xiao Shi allowed the two girls to help her up the boat. The two beautiful maids sighed inwardly. Their young master's eyesight was indeed impressive. With just one look, he could tell that this woman with a veil was from a wealthy family. Her background was not ordinary, and this young master must not be an ordinary person either. After boarding the ship, the field of vision widened. Han Fei extended his hand to invite Chu Li and Seo Shirt to take a seat. After Chu Li sat down, he took the wine from the beautiful maid. "I've heard of Mr. Fei's famous name." "Oh." Han Fei smiled. "It's not a good reputation. Please excuse me. I haven't asked. I'm Chu Li," Chu Li said. "Brother Chu." Han Fei raised his white jade cup. "Come. It's a blessing to meet a friend by chance. A toast to Brother Chu." "Please." Chu Li raised his white jade cup and drank it all. This made Han Fei have a good impression of him. He did not hesitate and was not afraid of being poisoned. It was obvious that he was an upright person. The beautiful maid who shot the lancet earlier came forward and filled Chu Li's cup. Chu Li nodded and thanked her. Han Fei smiled. "Can you drink, my lady?" Xiao Shi shook her head. Han Fei nodded and smiled at Chu Li. "Brother Chu, are you going to Chongming Town for business or sightseeing?" "My home is in Chongming Town," Chu Li said. "That's a coincidence. I'm going to Chongming Town too." Han Fei chuckled. "I heard that the New Moon brothel in Chongming Town is the best in the world. The ladies in the brothel are all beautiful and have amazing skills. It's never the same every night." Chu Li smiled. "Whether it's singing or dancing, it's different every day. But the New Moon brothel is a place to squander money. No amount of money is enough." Han Fei became more excited. "I heard that it costs 200 taels to enter the brothel." Chu Li nodded. Han Fei said, "The ladies in the New Moon brothel really don't sell their bodies?" Chu Li smiled. "The ladies in the New Moon brothel must be virgins. Once they lose their virginity, they either become instructors or leave the brothel. I wouldn't believe this if it was somewhere else." Han Fei raised his white jade cup and drank it all. "But I believe in the New Moon brothel. It's because it's backed by the High Duke's public house." Chu Li smiled. "Master Han, you've never been there even once." "My family is strict. I'm not allowed to go there." Han Fei shook his head and sighed. "It's a pity." Chu Li glanced at the 4 beautiful maids and smiled. "With these 4 ladies here, why do you need to go to the New Moon brothel, Master Han?" "That's different." Han Fei waved his hand and smiled. The 4 beautiful maids' eyes drifted over, and they seemed to be smiling yet not smiling. Chu Li said, "I heard from the boatman just now that clan leader Zhou is the brother-in-law of the governor of White Cloud Town. Is it true that the 15 governors are united?" Han Fei put down his white jade cup and smiled. "Whether it's true or false, how can an outsider tell? It's just looking at the flowers in the fog. Can Master Han clear up my doubts?" Chu Li drank it all. "Great." Han Fei also drank it all and smiled. "My Jiangchuan alliance is an alliance of the poor people for self-protection. We have nothing to do with the government. We also have human relations, but we're still an association that makes a living by the river. The River Alliance is different. It should be considered as the government." Chu Li raised his eyebrows. "Why do you think so?" Han Fei smiled. "I think Brother Chu is to your liking. That's why I said this. Others might not know about the background of the River Alliance, but I'm very clear about it. The Alliance leader Bao Shaoan is just a cover. The people in charge are the mayors of the 15 cities. They each send one person into the Alliance to discuss matters together. Aren't they afraid of the Imperial Court?" "Ha! So what if the Imperial Court knows about it? They didn't do anything wrong. I'm afraid the Imperial Court has even tacitly approved of it." Chu Li nodded slowly. "With the upper and the lower levels working together, they can indeed cover the sky with one hand. No one can do anything about it. My Jiangchuan alliance could still fight with them, but it's going to be difficult if this continues." Han Fei shook his head and said, "But in the end, they still can't do without us, the people by the river. They need us to work." Chu Li sighed. "If the Imperial Court really knows about this, then they've really opened up the sky. They might even be related to the royal family." Han Fei's expression changed slightly, and he smiled. "It seems that Brother Chu is someone from the government. To be able to see through the layers of fog and see through this level, he was definitely not a commoner." Chu Li shook his head. "I have nothing to do with the government. The River Alliance is so rampant, it seems that there's no way to stop it. Chapter 326. P.S. Maybe you guys don't have monthly votes in the middle of the month, so vote for recommendation votes. I need everyone's support. Seo Sure sat quietly beside Chu Li. She did not say a word, gentle and quiet. Han Fei smiled. Brother Chu, it's not suitable for you to walk on the river with such a beautiful wife. You should take the official road. Chu Li said, the official road isn't peaceful either. That's true. Han Fei raised his white jade cup, shook his head, and sighed. This world doesn't give the commoners a way out. Brother Chu, let's talk about romance, and not talk about these frustrating things. It is indeed frustrating. Chu Li smiled and raised his cup. Both of them drank it in one gulp. Master, a beautiful maid suddenly pointed to the opposite side. A large ship rushed out of the morning fog with an imposing manner. In the blink of an eye, it was in front of them. So Xiaohe stood at the bow of the ship. A cold smile hung on his chubby face. He crossed his arms and stared at Han Fei. Behind him were 12 burly men with bright eyes and long knives in their hands. You with the surname Han, how dare you? So Xiaohe roared like a thunderclap. Han Fei glanced at him, lazily. You're here to humiliate yourself again. I feel bad for Zhou Dajiang to meet such an idiot. You're the idiot, you with the surname Han, who gave you the guts to come to our territory and act arrogantly. This isn't the Jiang-Chuan alliance. Zhou Xiaohe shouted. If you know what's good for you, admit your mistake and apologize. Kowtow to me twice and hand over the 4 little girls. Oh, and this lady too. I'll spare your dog life. If you don't know what's good for you, this will be your burial ground. But don't worry, I'll take good care of these 5 ladies. Ha ha, ha ha. The more he spoke, the prouder he became. He laughed loudly. It was early in the morning. There were few boats on the river. When people heard the laughter, they avoided it to avoid getting into trouble. Han Fei shook his head and laughed. He turned to Chu Li and said, Brother Chu, you see, this is the River Alliance. It's full of idiots. Chu Li smiled. Be careful, Brother Han. He came prepared. Brother Chu, you're too careful. Han Fei laughed. The River Alliance's strength is sloppy and ordinary. They're only relying on the power of the government. So Xiaohe looked at Han Fei and Chu Li chatting and laughing, not taking his threat seriously at all. His killing intent surged as he shouted, Fine, since you don't know what's good for you, don't blame me for being merciless. Charge. Leave no man alive. The 2 boats were separated by a distance of 10 zhang. 12 burly men leapt up. The 4 pretty maids snorted, and each took out a lancet from their bosoms and threw it out. Chi, 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 chi. The lancet was fast and accurate, forcing the burly man to brandish his long saber to protect himself. Although they looked delicate, they were actually at the innate realm. Among the 12 burly men, there were 2 innate experts, while the rest were acquired experts. They looked aggressive and fierce, but under the lancet blades, they were in a sorry state. Some of them were struck by the saber, while those who were not struck by the saber were powerless to continue. In the end, only 2 of the 12 men managed to make it onto the ship. The 4 ladies immediately surrounded them. 8 delicate and exquisite hands slapped on their sabers, but the force of their saber was broken as if a hammer had struck a saber. Their body movement technique was light and agile. Their palms were light and elegant, like butterflies fluttering in the air. The shadows of their palms completely enveloped the 2 burly men. The 2 burly men fought 1 against 2. They waved their sabers like 2 balls of light, guarding the door tightly. They did not seek to be meritorious, but only to not make mistakes. Even so, they still could not defend against the delicate hands. Soon, the 2 palms passed through the saber and hit their chests. Bang! Bang! The two flew out of the boat and fell into the river. Han Fei chuckled and shook his head. So shall grow some brains. You've completely embarrassed the River Alliance. Fine, fine. Zhou Xiaohe stared at him, fiercely. How dare you be so arrogant in the territory of the River Alliance? If I don't teach you a lesson, my surname is not so. Han Fei shook his head. Your mother knows whether my surname is Zhou or not. Zhou Xiaohe's face turned red. His gaze seemed to want to eat Han Fei. Surnamed Han, when you're about to die, I'll slice you piece by piece. Han Fei waved his hand. I can't be bothered to talk nonsense with you. Get lost, or I'll cut your stinky head off and use it as a wine pot. Fine, just you wait. So Xiaohe's heart skipped a beat. He waved his hand and shouted angrily, Why are you still here? The big boat disappeared from everyone's sight in the blink of an eye. Chu Li smiled. Brother Han, if you hit the young one, I'm afraid the old one will come out. So what if he's old? Han Fei held up a white jade cup. Come, let's drink. The old and the young are all the same. Don't bother about them. Chu Li drank another cup. Han Fei said, Brother Chu, speaking of the High Duke's public house, there's an important person with the same name as you. Chu Li smiled. I'm not really an important person. Han Fei shook his cup and quickly said, Could it be you, Brother Chu? Chief Chu? Chu Li smiled and nodded. Han Fei slapped his forehead, shook his head and laughed. Look at my eyes. Sorry for not recognizing you. Chu Li smiled. I'm just working under someone else. I can't be as free and unrestrained as you, Brother Han. Han Fei's attitude did not change. He was still free and easy. He laughed. It's just a glamorous appearance. It's not that easy to be the Young Alliance leader. The higher-ups control too many things. This is not allowed, and that is not allowed. I can take advantage of this trip to Chongming Town and enjoy myself for a few days. I can't even rest for a day. Chu Li smiled. Brother Han, are you really going to New Moon Brothel this time? Sigh. Han Fei shook his head and glanced at the four beautiful maids. They lowered their heads and did not speak. Chu Li raised his eyebrows. Han Fei said, I won't hide it from you, Brother Chu. I'm going to visit my in-laws. Brother Han is married. Chu Li was surprised. Soon. Han Fei smiled bitterly. We've been engaged since we were young. We're getting married next year. Chu Li chuckled as he understood. He was so free and unrestrained. How could he be willing to be controlled by his wife? Once his wife came, these four beautiful maids would have to suffer. It was inevitable that they would suffer. How could a romantic person like him bear it? Brother Chu, I'm sorry. Han Fei shook his head and sighed. I really want to reject this marriage. Unfortunately, I can't afford to offend him. My father-in-law is the inspector of Chongming Town. Inspector Sir Jiang? Chu Li smiled. I heard that Lady Jiang is beautiful and has a good character. Brother Han should be happy. Sigh. Han Fei shook his head. It's a long story. He picked up the white jade cup and drank it in one gulp. Chu Li accompanied him and drank. Han Fei put down the white jade cup and sighed. In short, when I enter Chongming Town, I must go to New Moon Brothel first. Brother Han wants to break off the marriage? Chu Li frowned and shook his head. Sir Jiang is upright. Brother Han's action is useless. No matter how bad you are, Sir Jiang will still marry her daughter over. She will never break her promise. Brother Chu, do you have any ideas? Han Fei quickly asked. He was desperate. Chu Li thought for a while. I heard that Lady Jiang is gentle. She will be a good wife. Brother Han, why do you have to break off the marriage? Han Fei shook his head helplessly. Chu Li said, Could it be that Brother Han has a sweetheart? Yes. Han Fei nodded. To be honest, if I really marry her, I will be letting her down. Seoshur scoffed coldly at the side. Chu Li glared at her. Seoshur's clear eyes flashed and rolled her eyes at him. Chapter 3:27. Chu Li spoke before he could. Brother Han, you should tell Lady Jiang about this. Be honest with her and let her decide. If she chooses to marry you, everyone will be happy. If she can't accept your other confidant, then think of another way. She definitely won't agree. Han Fei sighed. Chu Li smiled. This will depend on your ability, Brother Han. He could tell that Han Fei was a passionate person. He wanted to have all the beauties in the world in his arms. He wanted to break off the engagement with Lady Jiang because her family background was too high. Once he entered the public house, she would definitely be able to control him. Han Fei drank another glass of wine. Seoshur glanced at him and snorted. Han Fei looked at Seoshur. Chu Li pointed at the opposite side. Another ship is coming. Han Fei turned his head and looked over. He smiled. This guy must be moving people over again. But River Alliance is just SOSO, nothing to worry about. They don't have any Grand Masters? I don't think so. I'm not afraid of that. Chu Li smiled. With the masters on this ship, it's enough to run amok. Han Fei laughed. In terms of ability, Jiangchuan Alliance is not afraid of them. They also had the intention to establish their authority on this trip. River Alliance had been in the limelight for the past few years. Their momentum was too strong. They were gradually swallowing up Jiangchuan Alliance's territory. They had to dampen their spirits. He would personally make a move and give them a tight slap in the face. He would let the world know who the real boss was. How arrogant! A stern voice was heard. The ship broke through the fog and came closer. A skinny middle-aged man was sitting at the bow of the ship. The burly Zhou Xiaoha stood behind the middle-aged man and sneered. The skinny middle-aged man sat straight in the armchair. His gaze was lazy. He said faintly, "Young Alliance leader Han, welcome to River Alliance. I apologize for not going out to meet you." He did not hide the perfunctory and disdain in his words. "So it's clan leader Zhou. You finally show yourself." Han Fei picked up his folding fan and waved it. "Your son is too useless. He bullies people and commits all kinds of crimes. Clan leader Zhou indulges him. Isn't he afraid of offending a martial arts master and getting his head chopped off?" Zhou Dajiang's face darkened. "There's no need for young Alliance Master Han to worry. Since your River Alliance is so useless, my Jiangchuan Alliance has also lost face. I thought that all the gangs in Li River were so useless." Han Fei waved his folding fan and sighed. "What a motley crew. What a joke. Young Alliance Master Han will know very soon whether they are a motley crew or not." Zhou Dajiang cursed under his breath. He waved his hand and said, "Leave no one alive." "Yes." The 20 strong men gave a fist salute and leaped into the sky. Like 20 golden eagles, they swooped down on Chu Li's ship. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. A lancet blade shot towards his head. Ding, 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 ding. The 5 burly men brandished their sabers to meet the lancets. The saber light was continuous, and not a single lancet missed. 5 men fell into the river, while the other 15 rushed onto the ship. For beautiful maids went forward to welcome them. 8 burly men held the 4 women back, while the remaining 7 rushed towards Chu Li and the others. "Luo Chuan!" Han Fei shouted. "Yes, young master." An old voice was heard. As soon as the voice stopped, an old man who was as burly as a bear appeared in front of him. He was followed by 6 burly men. "Get rid of them." Han Fei pointed with his folding fan. "Yes," the old man Luo Chuan said in a deep voice. He brought the 6 burly men to welcome the 7 men. Bam, bam, bam. Luo Chuan attacked like lightning. 3 of the 7 burly men who rushed over were taken down. The remaining 4 were met by the 6 burly men, and they were in a battle. Luo Chuan's body was like a bear, but his body movement technique was like a leopard cat. He quickly rushed into the battle of the 4 women and 8 men and attacked like lightning. Bam, 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 bam. The 4 burly men flew out. He then flew back to Han Fei and gave a fist salute. "Young master, let's leave quickly. The masters of the River Alliance are coming." "No hurry," Han Fei scoffed. "I want to see what they are capable of." Luo Chuan shook his head and said, "They must have many masters hidden." "So what?" Han Fei said, "A motley crew, nothing to worry about. This is the ghost hand Luo Chuan from back then, right?" Zhou Dajiang pointed at Luo Chuan and scoffed. "An innate master is actually a slave. What an eye-opener." Luo Chuan glanced at Zhou Dajiang indifferently and said nothing. Zhou Dajiang said, "But no matter how powerful you are, Luo Chuan, you are only one person. Clan leader Zhou, is that all you have?" Han Fei shook his head and said, "You are waiting for the people under the water, right?" While they were talking, a few blobs of blood suddenly surged on the river surface. The blobs of blood spread and formed a blood belt. The blood belt suddenly surged, and a few people appeared. They floated on the river surface and moved with the water. The blood kept dissolving and gradually spread. Zhou Dajiang's face was gloomy. Han Fei waved his folding fan and smiled. "I live in the river. How can I not guard against this?" "Ha ha, interesting." Just as he finished his sentence, Zhou Dajiang's big boat shook and tilted downwards. Zhou Dajiang was a person who had been on the boat for a long time. How could he not know what happened? His ambush failed, and instead he was ambushed by the other party. The boat was pierced through. "Retreat," he shouted in a deep voice. "Father!" Zhou Xiaohe shouted unwillingly. "What a good opportunity!" Zhou Dajiang glared at him and shouted, "Retreat! Let's go!" The brawny men who were fighting shouted as they retreated while fighting. They were in a precarious situation. They were forced into a fluster by the 4 women and 6 men and almost could not hold on any longer. The 4 women saw that they had the intention to leave, so they did not force them too much. Chi, a cold light, suddenly shot out, and the 8 men flipped and fell into the river. A middle-aged man among the 8 people, when the 4 women were careless, turned around and shot a flying knife, then jumped down, drilled into the water, and disappeared. This flying knife was fast and ruthless. It happened when the 4 women were relaxed. The beautiful maid who was pouring wine for Chu Li was caught off guard. She felt a knife in her heart and looked down in shock. "Young Yin!" Everyone shouted. Han Fei quickly appeared behind the maid like a ghost and held her up. He shouted in a deep voice, "Don't move." The beautiful maid, Young Yin, looked at Han Fei in disbelief. "Master!" As she spoke, blood gushed out of her mouth. Han Fei's face was gloomy. He quickly said, "Don't talk. Young Yan, don't worry. You won't die." More blood gushed out of Young Yan's mouth. Everyone's heart kept sinking. One knife hit the center of her heart, and she would definitely die. Han Fei quickly poked her chest a few times and took out a jade bottle. Hands, body, ding. Appearance of a locust, cough. Chu Li came to his side and stuffed a pill into Young Yan's mouth. He lightly poked her cheek acupuncture point. Young Yan opened her mouth and swallowed it. Han Fei stared at Chu Li. Chu Li said, "Spirit blessing pill. She's fine." Spirit blessing pill. Han Fei let out a long sigh of relief. Is it really the spirit blessing pill? Chu smiled and said, "Don't worry." Han Fei's gloomy face turned bright. "I forgot Brother Chu's identity." "Young Yen, don't worry. The spirit blessing pill of the High Duke's public house. You're lucky." Young Yen smiled. The reputation of the public house's spirit blessing pill was well known. As long as one was still breathing, they could be saved. It was one of the best spirit pills in the world. Many people wanted to join the High Duke's public house because of the spirit blessing pill. Chu Li patted her shoulder lightly. The flying knife shot out with a chi and fell into the water. Her chest did not bleed, and blood stopped gushing out of her mouth. Chapter 328. Chu Li pressed on her shoulder and said, "Miss Young, Yen needs to rest for a few days. Don't fight any more." "Of course," Han Fei quickly said. Young Yen felt the turbulent force drilling into her body towards her heart. The pain in her heart was slowly alleviating. She smiled. "It's much better now." Han Fei's expression changed. He had yet to recover from the shock. He said snappily, "If this happens again, you'll really die." He turned and glanced at the other three ladies. "You're the same. You look down on others just because you're strong in martial arts. Those who roam the martial arts world have a trump card. If you're careless, you'll fall for it." "Yes, master." The three ladies nodded. Their faces were pale, and they were terrified. The change just now was too fast. Life and death happened in the blink of an eye. Han Fei looked down at the river and said hatefully, "This debt needs to be settled." The few burly men who jumped into the river did not show their heads. No one knew where they escaped to. He could not vent his anger. Although the River Alliance's boat kept tilting slowly, its speed was fast. It was close to the shore, and there was no danger. To these riverside martial arts masters, even if the boat sank, they would not be killed. Chu Li removed his hand from Young Yan's shoulder and said, "Brother Han, they won't be able to tolerate this. They'll come again." "That's great." Han Fei sneered. His handsome face was filled with killing intent. "Master, I'm fine now," Young Yan said. Han Fei scoffed. "Quickly thank Brother Chu." "Master Chu, I'll never forget your life-saving grace." Young Yan curtsied. Chu Li waved his hand and smiled. "There's no need for that." Young Yan smiled. The feeling of coming back from the dead was too wonderful. "Young Mo, help Young Yan back to the house to heal," Han Fei said. Young Yan quickly said, "Master, I'm fine now. There's no need to go back." "We'll do it later. It's dangerous for you here." Han Fei waved his hand. "Go down and stay." "All right." Young Yen helplessly nodded. After the two ladies went down, Chu Li and Han Fei sat down again. If it wasn't for Brother Chu, I really don't know what would have happened. Han Fei still had a lingering fear when he thought of the scene just now. Chu Li smiled. It was fate to board Brother Han's boat. "I'm definitely making friends with Brother Chu," Han Fei said with a smile. Chu Li replied, "All right, then don't say thank you. Come on." He picked up the white jade cup and emptied it in one gulp. Han Fei also drank it all in one gulp. Then, the two of them talked about the Great River Alliance and Zhou Dajiang. Zhou Dajiang was also a powerful figure. He was a hall master of the River Alliance. Currently, the River Alliance was divided into two branches. There were 15 halls, one for each city. A hall master was in charge of a region. If that's the case, there are still quite a number of innate masters in the River Alliance. Chu Li drank the wine and picked a piece of braised meat to chew slowly. Han Fei said, "Of course there are innate masters. Otherwise, we won't be able to control the situation. If the martial artists don't see an innate master, they won't even pay attention to the River Alliance." Chu Li was deep in thought. Han Fei smiled and said, Brother Chu, you don't have to worry. Hey, I'm just worrying for nothing. With Brother Chu's skills, they are just like insects. Chu Li smiled and shook his head. Xiao Shi yawned softly. Han Fei said with a smile, Brother Chu, go back to your room and rest first. We'll start the banquet in an hour. Have a good meal to calm yourself down. All right, Chu Li said. Han Fei said, Young Qin, bring Brother Chu and Madam to the room. Yes, a beautiful maid nodded. She was the maid who played the guzheng earlier. Her posture was elegant. She led the way in front and brought the two to an elegant room. Although the room was not big, it was very cozy. After she left, Xiao Shi sat on the couch and sighed. Do I have to go with him? Chu Li smiled and said, This Brother Han is an interesting person. He's also the young alliance leader of the Jiangchuan Alliance. There's no harm in getting close to him. Young alliance leader, Xiao Shi scoffed softly. Chu Li said, I need to go back to the public house first, to see the eldest master. What's the matter? Xiao Shi said, How long? About an hour. Chu Li said, Brother Han is here. Help me stall for a while. All right, Xiao Shi said, unwillingly, go and come back quickly. Chu Li suddenly disappeared and appeared at the High Duke's public house's Iron Eagle Island. As soon as he appeared, he coughed softly. Lin Quan quickly came out. Seeing that it was him, he let out a sigh of relief. Chief Chu. Elder Lin Quan, I want to see the eldest master. Chu Li closed, fist saluted. All right, I'll inform him. Lin Quan entered the room. Xiao Taiying's voice quickly came from the main hall. Chu Li, come in. Chu Li entered the main hall. Xiao Taiying sat on the armchair with a gloomy face. He stared at him unkindly. Second sister went out with you? Chu Li nodded. Xiao Taiying clenched his teeth and scoffed. She better not come back. Chu Li knew that he was in a dilemma and anxiety. He did not continue the conversation and said, Eldest master, this time it's about the River Alliance. He told him what he knew. Xiao Taiying was in a rage. He scoffed. Tell me, how are you going to deal with it? Plow the enemy's nest and destroy them directly. Chu Li scoffed. 15 castellans formed an alliance and wanted to control the river transport. How can we just sit back and do nothing? If we make a move, they'll definitely impeach us. Let them impeach us. Chu Li said lightly, there are innate masters in the River Alliance. There are even quite a number of innate masters. They are under the jurisdiction of the public house. It's not their turn to dictate. If that's the case, it'll be another mess. Xiao Taiying frowned. This was the time when they were in a mess with the imperial residence of Prince, and with this fire, it would be even messier. Chu Li said, Eldest master, Prince and Shadow might be involved in this. No matter which royal relative they are, we can't let them do as they please. Chongming Road belongs to the E-Public House. They can't make decisions. Xiao Taiying's heroic spirit was aroused by Chu Li's words. The gloomy atmosphere of the past few days was swept away. Instead, a monstrous fighting spirit and heroic spirit rose in him. He sneered. All right, then let's do something ruthless. Lin Quan, issue a High Duke order. Capture all the innate masters of the River Alliance in one fell swoop. Capture all the higher-ups. Yes, master, Lin Quan said in a low voice. He got up to grind an inkstone. After he was done, he took out 15 pieces of paper from the cupboard. He picked up a brush and wrote 15 orders one by one. He then presented them to Xiao Taiying. After Xiao Taiying looked through them one by one, he pressed the black ring on his ring finger on the paper. A strange pattern was immediately branded on the paper. It looked like a pattern that was made by burning. Chu Li saw that Xiao Taiying used a special heart technique to activate the power of the ring and branded it on the paper. No one could fake it. Once the pattern was branded on the ring, it meant that it was an order from the High Duke himself. It had the highest authority. It must be executed immediately without any delay. Send it out. Xiao Taiying scoffed. It's time to let them understand that the High Duke's public house is the High Duke's public house. Chu Li closed fist saluted and smiled. Eldest master is wise. When are you and second sister coming back? Xiao Taiying asked. Chu Li said, the second lady said that she wants to return to the public house after the wedding. Fine, let her be. It's impossible for her to be so free in the future. Xiao Taiying sighed and waved his hand. Let her do as she pleases. Chu Li closed fist saluted. I'll take my leave. Xiao Taiying sighed. She's used to being willful. Don't let her suffer. Chapter 329. Chu Li appeared in Xiao Shi's house in a flash. Xiao Shi was lying on her side on the couch, revealing her graceful curves. She was holding a book in her hand as she stared blankly. When Chu Li appeared, she glared at him. Have you met Big Brother? Chu Li nodded. What should we do with him, Big Brother? Take care of them. How? The innate masters have been eliminated, and the higher-ups of the River Alliance have been captured. Chu Li said faintly, this time, let's teach these town guards a lesson and let them know who's the master. Xiao Shi glared at him. It was your idea, wasn't it? Chu Li smiled. Master Xiao Taiying has his own thoughts. Big Brother wouldn't be so impulsive. Xiao Shi shook her head in disbelief. Chu Li said, Master Xiao Taiying is in a fit of anger. The River Alliance has bumped into the tip of the knife. It's their bad luck. Is it all right if the River Alliance is annihilated? Xiao Shi frowned and said, is the Jiangchuan Alliance the only power? The River Alliance has only changed the higher-ups. The people below won't be dismissed. Chu Li said, Master Xiao Taiying is a smart man. He should know what to do. He did not believe that Xiao Taiying would not grasp such a good opportunity to control the River Alliance. Xiao Shi rubbed the space between her eyebrows. You're always thinking about how to deal with people anyway. Chu Li could not help but laugh. Xiao Shi asked, have you found out about Su En's background? I can't find anything. Chu Li shook his head and said, there are too few clues. It will surface in the future. There are not many people who can perform the vitality sealing finger. Could it be Kingen? It's possible. Sigh. Poor child. Xiao Shi shook her head and sighed. If he's really in danger and I crush the Saraira, you can't just stand by and watch. Don't worry, I like him too. Chu Li smiled. Early in the morning, Su-en woke up and finished practicing his fist art. After playing with the other novice monks for a while, he returned to his room, opened the cupboard, and carefully took out the bundle. She placed the bundle on the bed and slowly untied it. 3 sets of inner robes and 3 sets of yellow monk robes were revealed. Today was his first day in the temple. It could be considered his birthday, so he planned to wear the monk's robe that he usually couldn't bear to wear. He took out the undergarments and the monk robe, which were the smallest sets. A smile appeared on his face as he caressed it carefully. He took off his inner clothes and was about to put on a new set of inner clothes. Just as he lifted his inner clothes, a letter fell from his clothes onto the ground. Naked, he picked up the envelope. He pulled out the letter inside. There was only a line of delicate words on the letter. Little monk, keep the Saraira with you at all times. If you are in danger, just crush it and someone will come to your rescue. Remember this. Su-en poured out a relic from the envelope. He touched the Saraira and knew that it was a gift from Uncle Kong Hai to Xiao Shi. A smile appeared on his face as he carefully stroked the Saraira. He found a thin thread and tied it around his neck before putting on his inner clothes. He put on his new robe. Seosher's beautiful face appeared before his eyes. A warm feeling spread to the bottom of his heart, like warm water wrapping around him. Chi knocks on the door. When the two of them arrived outside, a table of sumptuous dishes had already been laid out. They looked, smelled, and tasted great. The ship continued to sail on the river. They drank wine leisurely. After lunch, Chu Li and Han Fei chatted while drinking. They did not see anyone from the River Alliance even when it was noon. Chu Li smiled without saying a word. He did not know how long it would take for the High Duke's order to act. After noon, the ship stopped for a while at a large wharf to replenish herself. When the ship moved again, Luo Chuan came to Han Fei's side and whispered a few words. Han Fei was surprised and looked at Chu Li. Chu Li smiled. He knew that the High Duke's public house had already made a move. Luo Chuan retreated. Qin and Qi were preparing to play the zither and flute. Han Fei smiled. Brother Chu, I didn't expect the High Duke's public house to make a move. Chu Li said, the High Duke's public house is derelict in their duty. Han Fei shook his head and smiled. I didn't expect the High Duke's public house to dare to make a move. You should know that there are 15 castellans. He was quite familiar with the officialdom. Although the High Duke's public house had a superior position and could suppress the castellans also had the duty to restrict the High Duke's public house. The River Alliance was a third-rate faction and was not under the jurisdiction of the High Duke's public house. These castellans were very clear about the rules of the High Duke's public house. They were all avoiding the High Duke's public house's hands and did not allow the alliance to have innate masters. It was a pity that the castellans had good ideas, but the implementation depended on the people below. The people below knew the importance of innate masters. Without innate masters, no one would listen to them. They could only secretly raise innate masters. Han Fei previously thought that the High Duke's public house turned a blind eye to the 15 castellans. It was not that they did not know, but they were too lazy to care. They had a tacit understanding with each other. Now, it seemed that he was wrong. Chu Li smiled. It's only 15 castellans. Ha! This is the spirit of the High Duke's public house. Han Fei laughed. Come, let me toast to the High Duke's public house. You should have taken care of these people long ago. Chu Li smiled and drank his wine. Han Fei put down his wine cup and thought. However, the High Duke's public house's action this time is also a warning to the Jiang-Chuan alliance, right? Chu Li smiled. The Jiang-Chuan alliance has a good reputation. The High Duke's public house will not use force for personal interests. Then I'm relieved. We can still be friends. Han Fei smiled. Chu Li said, Brother Han is wise. Of course we can be friends. Brother Chu, do you think we can cooperate? Han Fei smiled. I know that the High Duke's public house is powerful and doesn't care about small factions like us. However, being small has its advantages too. We are more informed. Chu Li raised his eyebrows. Han Fei was indeed smart. He understood where his advantage lay. If he could form a relationship with the High Duke's public house, then he would no longer be afraid of the threat of force. As long as he abided by the rules, the Jiang-Chuan alliance would be as stable as Mount Tai. Chu Li smiled. Cooperating with the High Duke's public house is disadvantageous to the Jiang-Chuan alliance. It's the lesser of two evils. There's no other way. Han Fei smiled. Cooperating with the High Duke's public house was equivalent to cutting himself off from the martial arts world. All factions would resist. However, compared to going against the High Duke's public house, he wanted to cooperate more. Within half a day, the huge River Alliance was defeated in one fell swoop. All the innate masters were either dead or surrendered. The clan leaders and above were captured and escorted to the High Duke's public house. The River Alliance was so powerful that it dominated half of the Lee River. Just the mention of it made people pale. However, in front of the High Duke's public house, it was like the difference between a baby and an adult. He saw the power of the High Duke's public house and had the intention to cooperate. If the High Duke's public house were to say something and take care of the Jiang-Chuan alliance, the Jiang-Chuan alliance would not be able to resist at all. No matter how strong his martial arts was, he was only one person. It was impossible for him to resist the High Duke's public house. Chu Li smiled. All right, since Brother Han mentioned it, let's cooperate. Brother Han can cooperate with the Glories will courtyard secretly and hide it from outsiders. That's great. Han Fei smiled. Come, let's have a drink for cooperation. The two drank it in one gulp. Chu Li put down the white jade cup. Since we're not outsiders, Brother Han, I'm very curious. Where did your abilities come from? Brother Chu can tell? Han Fei smiled. Chu Li nodded. Brother Han, you've hidden your abilities well. Your forbearance is extraordinary. No one in the martial arts world knows that the young alliance leader of the Jiang-Chuan alliance is a grandmaster, right? Ha! I really managed to hide it. Han Fei smiled proudly. With young Qin and the other three, I don't have to do anything. As for my abilities, it's natural and not my own. Chu Li looked at her curiously. Chapter 330. What kind of fruit? Chu Li smiled. All the girls looked at Han Fei curiously. Han Fei thought for a while. It looks normal pink, palm-sized. That time when I went into the mountains to play, I couldn't stand the thirst, but I couldn't find any water. I saw such a juicy fruit, so I ate it. Aren't you afraid of poison? Chu Li asked. Han Fei sighed. I was so thirsty that I ate it even if it was poisonous. Chu Li thought about it, but he couldn't figure out what the fruit was. He searched through the spirit herb medicine encyclopedia in his mind, but he didn't hear any record of a fruit that could raise someone to the Grandmaster's boundary. However, the world was full of wonders, and anything could happen. Many of them were unseen. Through the scene in Han Fei's mind, he saw the appearance of this fruit. It was indeed very ordinary. No one would have thought that such a fruit could create a grandmaster. Brother Han's luck is really enviable. Chu Li shook his head. Han Fei smiled. I got it through a trick and didn't know how to cherish it. How can I compare to you, Brother Chu? You've cultivated to the Grandmaster's boundary at such a young age. It's a real ability. It's also luck. Chu Li shook his head and smiled. I can't compare to you, but I'm much stronger than others. Come, let's have another drink for our luck. Both of them drank again. Chu Li was very satisfied with the wine on the ship. It was mellow and fragrant. It was a rare wine. He looked at the four girls. Han Fei smiled. They didn't get lucky. They cultivated with their own ability. Their qualifications are better than mine. Chu Li nodded and didn't ask any more. Both of them started talking about exchanging information. Fatty Chui. Han Fei raised his voice. Young master. Soon, a plump and tall middle-aged man ran over. He had a round face and narrow eyes. His eyes seemed to be squeezed together by the flesh, revealing only a small slit. His gaze was exceptionally lively. He quickly glanced at Chu, Li, and Xiao Shi. His small eyes almost disappeared from his smile. Young master, you were looking for me? This is the chief of the Glories will courtyard of the High Duke's public house. Han Fei introduced. We'll send a copy of the news to the Glories will courtyard. Understand? Yes, yes. Fatty Chui closed fist saluted and smiled. Chief Chu? Chu Li smiled. I'll be in the fairy's capital. Where is Mr. Chui now? His name is Chui Yu. He's the manager of a restaurant. Han Fei smiled and said, he followed me this time because of his craftsmanship. I'm going to send him to Chongming Town. If Brother Chu wants to go to the divine capital, then let him go. Chu Li asked, Brother Han, are you able to plant people in Fairy's capital? I have some connections. Han Fei smiled. He had great ambitions. The divine capital was where all the power in the world was concentrated. How could there not be someone in charge of gathering information? The Jiangchuan Alliance had a lot of funds and used money to pave the way. It was not difficult to do this. Chu Li said, I will let the maid contact Mr. Chui. I don't dare to call myself Mr. Chu. Just call me Fatty Chui. Chui, you hurriedly waved his fat hand. Chu Li smiled. I wouldn't dare. I'll have to trouble Mr. Chui in the future. Chui, you nodded with a bitter smile. Yes. Leave it to me. If there's any news, I'll send it over immediately. I promise there won't be any delays. Han Fei chuckled and said, Don't be courteous with him. You will know in the future that this guy is very slippery. He, young master, I'm a loyal and honest person. Chui, you laughed. Get lost. Han Fei waved his hand and was about to hit him. Chui Yu's fat body jumped agilely. He shrunk his body and closed fist saluted as he ran away. Bang! A muffled sound was heard. Chu Li raised his eyebrows and pointed below. Brother Han, looks like there's an uninvited guest. Let's go down and take a look. Hey! Luo Chuan's angry voice was heard. Elder Luo, let's go. Han Fei's expression changed slightly. His body flashed like a ghost and appeared on the first floor. Chu Li appeared too. Luo Chuan was fighting with a middle-aged man in a green shirt. He was losing ground and was in a precarious situation. The middle-aged man in green shirt was a grandmaster. When he struck his palm out of thin air, his palm energy was turbulent. Luo Chuan, an innate master, could withstand so many attacks. He relied on his fast body technique and rich experience. However, he was also losing ground. A grandmaster. Han Fei's eyes lit up. He leaned forward and said, Elder Luo, give it to me. Luo Chuan took a step back and said in a low voice, Young master, be careful. This person's skill is very profound. He had seen many grandmasters, but there were very few who had such exquisite skills like this middle-aged man. Young master might not win. Han Fei laughed out loud. His body flashed and appeared behind the middle-aged man. He lightly pressed his palm out. As if the middle-aged man had eyes behind his back, his right palm turned and pressed. Bang! Two palm energies collided. It was like two huge waves colliding, creating a strong wind. The clothes of the four people were fluttering in the wind. Chu Li said in a low voice, There's one more. He flashed and disappeared on the spot. He appeared on the second floor. A middle-aged man in a purple shirt appeared on the second floor. He pressed his palm towards Seo Shi. The three beautiful maids shouted and blocked in front of Seo Shi. Their palms met the palm energy. Bang, bang, bang. Three muffled sounds were heard. The three maids flew out. There was blood at the corner of their mouths. The power of the palm was also dissipated. Seo Shi looked at the middle-aged man in purple without changing her expression. She said coldly, Who are you? Humph. The middle-aged man in purple saw that she was so calm. He angrily attacked again. There was a flash beside Seo Shi. Chu Li appeared. He grabbed her and disappeared. He appeared behind the middle-aged man in purple shirt. The middle-aged man in purple shirt attacked behind him. Chi! With a light whistle, Chu Li threw a flying blade. The middle-aged man in purple shirt turned his palm into a fist and attacked. Chi! With a sound like ripping silk, the flying blade pierced through the fist energy and shot into the left shoulder of the middle-aged man in purple shirt. Hey, The middle-aged man's face suddenly turned purple. It was the same color as his long robe. The flying blade on his shoulder flew out. Chuli did not expect him to use his secret skill so quickly. He was surprised, but his hands did not stop. Another flying blade flew out. Chi! The flying blade was blocked by the fist energy. It slowed down, and the middle-aged man in purple shirt dodged it. His fist energy was twice as condensed as before. It was enough to weaken the flying blade. Chu-Li shook his head. He held Seo sure, and another flying blade flew out. The middle-aged man in purple shirt laughed coldly. The fist energy was condensed. It was like a snowball appeared in the air and hit the flying blade. He believed that the power of this punch was stronger than the previous one. It could even make the flying blade fly back. Bo! A silver light flashed. The flying blade pierced through the snowball and shot into the left chest of the middle-aged man in purple shirt. He widened his eyes and looked down at the flying blade in disbelief. Chu-Li's knife looked the same as the previous one, but he used the inner energy of the scripture of duality with the infinite azure sea. Chi! Another flying blade flew into his chest. Chu-Li looked at him. From Fenghuang Mountain? You. The middle-aged man in purple shirt pointed at him and fell into the river. These few moves were extremely fast. Seo Shi, Xiao Qin, and the other girls did not have time to react. It was already over after Chu-Li's 4 knives. Bang, 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 bang. Muffled sounds came from the first floor. Chu-Li smiled. Thank you, ladies. How's your injury? He took out a porcelain bottle and threw it over, one for each of you. At the same time, 3 waves of spiritual energy flowed into their bodies to help them recover. They felt like they were wrapped in the hot spring. It was warm and comfortable. They knew it was Chu-Li's doing. Seo Shi curtsied at the 3 girls and smiled. Chu-Li closed fist, saluted, and disappeared with Seo Shi. He appeared on the first floor. Chapter 331. P.S. The 4th Guild Master has been born, Guild Master Q Blockhead. Chu-Li sized him up. Han Fei's palm technique was extraordinary, and his skill was profound, even better than what he had cultivated. Chu-Li raised his voice. Fenghuang Mountain, your other companion is dead. The expression of the green-robed man changed slightly. Seeing that Chu-Li was still standing there, he knew that his comrade did not succeed. The thought of leaving arose in his heart. With a deep snort, his body suddenly swelled up. His face turned purple as he activated a secret technique. Chu-Li had already seen through the secret skill of the Fenghuang Mountain. The path of the heart technique was short, and it could be activated very quickly. His face turning purple was a similar sign. Unfortunately, the price was too great. Even if he learned it, he would use it cautiously. After all, he had the divine limbs. If he couldn't win, he could just run. There was no need for him to use a secret art that would shorten his lifespan. The green-robed, middle-aged man decisively used a secret technique. He understood that since his senior brother had died, it was impossible for him to escape without using a secret technique. Realizing that his palm strength had suddenly increased and his power had doubled, Han Fei laughed and said, "As expected, you've hidden a few tricks up your sleeves." "Very good." The power of his palm also condensed and increased greatly. He was still evenly matched with the green-robed middle-aged man. Chu-Li smiled. "Brother Han, let me do it. I'll take care of him." Han Fei said excitedly. He rarely fought with grandmasters. The number of grandmasters in the martial arts world was limited, so he could not be bothered with a third-rate association like the Jiangchuan Alliance. He also had to hide his cultivation level, so he rarely fought. Now that the opportunity was right in front of him, he naturally had to seize it to practice. Such a powerful grandmaster was rare. If he were to encounter someone even more powerful in the future, he would most likely be defeated due to his lack of experience. He had thought far ahead, so he fought with great vigor. Chu Li watched with a smile on his face, but his heart was filled with murderous intent. He was not prepared to let this person go. Feng Huanghe was really bold. They actually dared to assassinate him because of Gu Yu. After all, Chu Li could use the power of the High Duke's public house to deal with Feng Huanghe. Feng Huang Mountain dared to do this. They were not afraid of the High Duke's public house. This was the confidence of a first-rate sect. The public house was currently weak. If they really wanted to deal with Feng Huang Mountain, it would cause unpredictable consequences. It was very likely that it would cause the other sects to retaliate. In that case, the public house would not be able to control the situation, and it would cause the flames of war to rise everywhere. Bang, bang, bang. The palm force dispersed in all directions, and Chu Li and the others' clothes fluttered as if they were standing in a gale. Xiao Shi frowned. He felt that it was not a good idea to continue fighting like this. Han Fei's palm force became fiercer and fiercer. In the beginning, he was at a slight disadvantage, but now he was not inferior. The energy contained in the strange fruit had always been hidden in his body and had not been completely absorbed. Under the pressure of the Grandmaster, it was gradually stimulated. Chu Li shook his head and sighed as he looked at his rapidly increasing cultivation level. As expected of a fortuitous encounter, there was no point in being envious. Bang! The green-robed middle-aged man's chest was hit. He spat out blood and was sent flying. He took advantage of the momentum to activate his lightness kung fu. His speed was extremely fast as he flipped out of the boat. Chi! A streak of silver light caught up to him and shot into his heart. The green-robed, middle-aged man's movements paused. He widened his eyes and stared at Chu Li. He fell into the river unwillingly. The surging river was swept away in the blink of an eye. "Brother Chu, your flying knife skills are amazing," Han Fei praised. Chu Li smiled. "I was just lucky. If Brother Han didn't injure him, it wouldn't have been so easy to hit him. A Grandmaster's intuition towards danger is amazing, and he can avoid the vital parts." Han Fei laughed. "It's your flying knife that's too fast." Chu Li burst into laughter. "Brother Han, let's not flatter each other." He was speaking the truth. When using flying knives to kill, he would often use God's limbs to force his way to the front. Even if the opponent had a warning sign, he would not be able to react in time. The distance was so far, just now, it was impossible to kill a Grandmaster. Once the distance was far, the Grandmaster would be able to avoid the vital parts with the warning sign. How satisfying! Han Fei was overjoyed. He laughed loudly. "Come, let's go up and have a few drinks." Chu Li and Xiao Shi followed him up to the deck. The three women were sitting cross-legged on the carpet, channeling and recuperating. "Young Qin, are you guys all right?" Han Fei asked with concern. "Are your injuries serious?" Young Qin opened her eyes and smiled elegantly. "Master, we are fine. Master Chu came in time and protected us." Chu Li smiled and waved his hand. They were really smart women. They were protecting Xiao Shi, but it turned out that he was the one protecting them. He really owed them a favor. The other two women opened their eyes as well. Their faces were radiant. With Chu Li's pills and the assistance of the spiritual energy from the plants, their injuries were not serious. They were healed in a short while. It was their first time witnessing such a speedy recovery. It was a novel and exciting experience. Xiao Shi said, "If the three younger sisters are bullied, come and find me. I will help you." Han Fei looked at Chu Li. Chu Li smiled. "Brother Han, this is the second lady. She will soon become princess, and Han Fei was stunned for a moment. He quickly said, "Brother Chu, don't joke around." He always thought that Xiao Shi was Chu Li's wife. She almost never spoke. She sat quietly at the side, like a gentle and virtuous woman. Her eyes occasionally glanced over, giving him a strange feeling. He knew that Chu Li was not married, but how could such a young genius not have a woman? He was only the young alliance leader, and he already had so many beauties. He concluded that Chu Li was just not married. The two of them sat together like husband and wife. Naturally, he treated Xiao Shi as Chu Li's woman and addressed her as his wife. He never expected it to be the second lady of the High Duke's public house. Chu Li smiled, then just treated it as a joke. "Is it really the second lady?" Han Fei looked at Xiao Shi hesitantly. Xiao Shi's eyes were like autumn water. She glanced at him and did not say a word. Han Fei believed it. No wonder this Madame Chu's expression was always weird. She was so arrogant. So it was the second lady. No wonder. Chu Li waved his hand and smiled. The identity of the second lady cannot be spread to prevent gossip. "Brother Han, just pretend that you don't know." Han Fei stared at him and smiled bitterly. "I can't do it." Brother Han is a free and easy person. Chu Li smiled. Han Fei tried his best not to look at Xiao Shi. He sighed. This trip to Chongming Town was really interesting. He was very curious. The second lady was known as the first beauty of the great Ji dynasty. He wondered how she looked like. Was she really that beautiful? Xiao Shi lowered her head and did not look at him anymore. The ship sailed extremely fast. It was a smooth journey. Occasionally, they would stop at the pier for a while to replenish their supplies before continuing to sail. After 7 days, the ship sailed to the pier outside of Chongming Town. To enter the town, they had to enter through the town gate. The waterway in Chongming Town was usually not used. Xueling was already waiting at the pier. She wore a snow-white gown. Her jade-like face was as cold as snow. In the bustling pier, she stood out like a crane among chickens. People consciously avoided her. There was an empty space around her. Seeing Chu Li standing on the ship, her cold, jade-like face suddenly revealed a smile. It was like a snowy day. Her face was dazzling. She floated lightly and landed in front of Chu Li silently. "Master! Second lady!" Chu Li smiled at Han Fei. "This is my maid Xueling. This is Han Fei, Brother Han." Han Fei closed fist saluted. Miss Xueling curtsied. "Greetings, Master Han." Chu Li said, "If there's any news in the future, ask Mr. Cui to look for Xueling." Han Fei chuckled. "Then Elder Cui will be overjoyed. Brother Han, we'll meet again. See you in town." Chu Li closed fist saluted. His left hand held Xueling, and his right hand held Xiao Shi. Chapter 332. The three of them appeared in the Gloriesville courtyard of the public house. Xiao Shi sat in the pagoda lazily. She did not want to move and did not want to return to Symphony Island. Xue frowned. "Master, it's strange. There's no movement from the other houses. It's like they don't know about the wedding." Chu Li pondered. "I'm afraid it won't be peaceful. Pay special attention to the Rin public house. Will they cause trouble? It's hard to say." Xiao Shi said, lazily, "Didn't we talk about it with Lu Yurong? Even if we want to work together, we have to be careful." Chu Li said. He could not read Lu Yurong's mind. Lu Yurong's tricks were cunning. It was hard to tell if she would cause trouble. He had to go to the Rin public house to find out. Xiao Shi said, "It's good that they're here. Let's see what they can do." As the wedding approached, she suddenly felt fear. Although she was prepared to sacrifice herself, when the day was about to come, she still felt fear and anxiety. To enter the imperial residence, it would be full of thorns, and every step would be difficult. Chuli saw her anxiety and smiled. Let's go out and play. Where are we going? Seoshur was languid and did not seem to be in the mood. How about Mountain Sherwan? Chuli said. Mountain Sherwan was a forbidden area for humans. It was the territory of spirit beasts. Even an enlightened master could not leave. The 100,000 Mountains was a forbidden area for humans. It was the territory of spirit beasts. Even enlightened masters couldn't leave this place. However, with his god's limbs, he would be able to escape if he were to encounter any spirit beasts. She had never seen a spirit beast in her life. Shwe hesitated. She wanted to say something, but stopped. The Grand Myriad Mountains was too risky. If he really encountered a formidable spirit beast, then no one would respond to his cries, and he would die without a doubt. Chuli smiled. How about we look at the spirit beasts and relax? All right, let's go to Mountain Sherwan. Seoshur said, but we'll only walk around outside. I heard that the deeper we go, the stronger the spirit beasts. Even an enlightened master is no match for them. Of course, Chuli nodded. Let's look outside. Shwe whispered. Master, Chuli smiled. It's okay. I won't take the risk. I'll just take a look. All right, go find out about Brother Han. Meet with his subordinate, Chue Yu. He'll send you any news in the future. Yes. Shue Ling nodded helplessly. He knew that there was no point in trying to persuade her. This is 100,000 Mountain? Seoshur looked at the vast mountain range and frowned. That can't be right. Chu, Li, and Seoshur stood at the foot of a huge mountain. Back then, he and Zhaoying came here to plant the deity's beard. It was in a valley on this mountain. However, this could only be regarded as the outer mountain range of the 100,000 Mountains, and there were no spirit beasts. If he wanted to truly enter the Myriad Mountains, he had to climb this mountain. Once he entered, he would truly step into the Myriad Mountains, and it would be another world. He had never been to the 100,000 Mountains, so he couldn't imagine it in his mind. He could not use his divine feet either. Chuli smiled and said, This is the outer area. Once we pass this mountain, we will truly enter the 100,000 hills. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go, Xiaoshur said hastily. Chuli said, Have you thought it through, Lady Xiao? It's very dangerous inside. I heard that you can't get out even if you enter. It's better if we can't get out. Xiaoshur scoffed. Chuli nodded and put his arm around her waist. In a flash, they disappeared and reappeared at the peak. Standing at the top of the mountain and looking down at the mountains, all one could see were lush and majestic peaks. Giant peaks stood in great numbers. It was so densely packed that one couldn't see the end. Every peak was connected to heaven and earth, and they were all covered by white clouds. The peaks were surrounded by white clouds, as if they had arrived at an ethereal paradise. The 100,000 Mountains. It was said that there were 100,000 peaks, and it was said that it was bigger than the human territory. Even with his light body technique, he might not be able to pass through it, even if he ran for a month. Without seeing the 100,000 Mountains, he would not know how small humans were. It's spectacular. Seoshur sighed. Looking at the magnificent scenery, she felt her heart relax. Her impatient anger was swept away. She turned her head and looked at Chuli. Are we going in? Let's go in and have a look. Chuli smiled. He held Seoshur's wrist and disappeared on the spot, reappearing at the foot of a giant peak. As soon as he stepped into the peak, his body suddenly felt lighter. The surrounding air was exceptionally fresh. With a breath, every pore on his body opened up, and his internal organs were cleansed. He felt lighter. The spiritual energy is really thick, Chuli exclaimed. The scripture of life and death was activated. and spiritual energy from all directions surged into his body. The spiritual energy was thick and lively. It actually felt a little like the Gloriesville tree. Although it was slightly inferior, it was not much different. Good place. Co sure also felt comfortable. What entered her eyes were crisp and dark green, full of vitality. Standing at the foot of the mountain, her mood was inexplicably good. She was in high spirits and full of vitality. It would be great if we could stay here, Co sure exclaimed. Chuli smiled. That's a good idea. He used the omniscient mirror to look around. There were no spirit beasts, only lush spirit herbs and spirit trees, and some small insects. Other than that, there were some birds in the forest. Compared to the birds outside, they were much more vigorous. There was nothing else unusual. These birds were happily pecking at the insects on the trees. Occasionally, they would jump down and eat the insects in the soil. Other than these birds, there were no other birds or beasts. Let's go up and have a look. Chuli said. Co sure said, then be careful. Chuli held her wrist and disappeared on the spot. After 2 flashes, he appeared halfway up the mountain. Fog lingered, and the temperature dropped. He saw a type of bird in the omniscient mirror. He immediately stopped and did not dare to move. In the omniscient mirror, 2 crane-like birds were standing on a pine tree. They stood firmly on one leg while the other was tucked under their abdomens. On their foreheads was a vermilion crown. They had long and thin beaks. Their eyes were like gems, clear and intelligent. He recognized them as spirit cranes and did not dare to move. The 2 spirit cranes had already noticed his spying and turned their heads to look at him. He did not dare to move. These spirit beasts' intelligence was not inferior to humans. Many of them were even more intelligent than humans. This was the first one who could feel his omniscient mirrors spying. As expected, his spiritual sense was much sharper than normal people. What's wrong? Co sure saw that he was frozen and asked softly. Chuli smiled bitterly. Spirit cranes. Co sure's expression changed slightly. Let's go. Spirit cranes were very powerful. Humans were no match for them. Chuli said, let's see. His heart was stirred. He wanted to come into contact with spirit beasts. He was too curious about spirit beasts. Screech. A loud and clear screech was heard. The 2 spirit cranes spread their long wings and flapped twice. They soared into the sky and turned into 2 rays of white light that appeared in his field of vision. They were like arrows that left the bow. They were aggressive and wanted to take their lives. He was shocked. He quickly pulled Co sure to the side and waved his palm to meet it. Bang! A muffled sound was heard. He dodged the peck from the spirit crane's long beak. He hit the spirit crane, but flew away as if he was hit by a galloping horse. While he was in the air, another spirit crane shot towards him. Its long beak was like a sword. Chuli tried his best to move sideways to avoid the long beak. He waved his palm. Bang! His palm hit the spirit crane's body. The spirit crane's feathers were tough and smooth. It deflected most of the force. His palm energy could not penetrate its body. Chapter 333. Chuli twisted his body and dodged again. He threw a light punch. Bam! The solid fist force hit one of the spirit cranes, but the spirit cranes did not care and continued to peck. The other spirit crane followed suit and attacked. The 2 spirit cranes were like grandmasters attacking together. One advanced while the other retreated. Their teamwork was extremely fast. If he did not use God's limbs and only relied on his light body technique, he would not be as fast as them. Bam! Another punch hit the spirit crane's wing and stopped it from getting closer. The other spirit crane pecked with its long beak as fast as lightning. Chu Li pulled Xiao Shi and disappeared. He appeared at the foot of the mountain in a sorry state. He looked up and shook his head helplessly. They're really powerful. Xiao Shi was dazzled by what she saw. The two spirit cranes were like two white shadows, sometimes in front of him and sometimes behind him. Only when Chu Li hit them occasionally did he see what they looked like. They were unusually spirited and exuded a threatening aura. They were indeed spirit beasts. Can't beat them. She smiled. Chu Li shook his head. They're invulnerable, and inner energy can't hurt them. Spirit beasts are blessed by the heavens and the earth. With such tough feathers, they were not afraid of human weapons and martial arts. They were more intelligent than humans and had sharper senses than grandmasters. It was impossible to poison them. Humans could not do anything to them. Let's go back, Xiao Shi said. Chu Li said, I heard that spirit cranes are friendly to humans. This doesn't seem like it. Friendly? Xiao Shi chuckled. Would you be friendly with an ant? At most, you'll be too lazy to care. Spirit cranes are indifferent, and they don't care about humans. That's not friendly. She had read a lot and was interested in spirit beasts. She had seen many strange and interesting stories. How can I break their feathers? Chu Li asked. To break their feathers, you need their claws. Xiao Shi shook her head, but to get their claws is harder than breaking their feathers, so it's a wild wish. Chu Li shook his head. You really want to become enemies with them? It'll be troublesome if you hurt them. Xiao Shi said. Chu Li said, I want to get some of their blood. If he could get some spirit crane blood to make a concentration talisman. Presumably, the effect would be extremely high. There was no need to kill them, just a little bit of their blood. Don't mess around. Xiao Shi was shocked. If you really get their blood, they will definitely kill you. Chu Li said regretfully, then forget it. Let's go somewhere else. Luckily, it was a spirit crane this time. If it was any other spirit beast, it would be really dangerous. Xiao Shi said, let's stay here. This mountain is enough for us to walk around. That's fine too. Chu Li smiled and said, let's look for some spirit herbs and bring them back. He discovered that this mountain peak had many spirit herbs that could not be found in the outside world. All of them were exceptionally precious. In particular, there was a type of spirit herb that was most needed for the Taihua gold pill, the moon-eater grass. As long as it was moved to the side of the Gloriesville tree in the Duke's public house, it could be slowly expanded. With this, he would not have to worry about Mei Aoshuang arguing with him anymore. Instead, she would have to owe him a big favor. This moon-devouring grass was almost lost in the outside world. It seemed like the 100,000 Mountains was an endless treasure that needed to be slowly excavated. Unfortunately, there were almost no people who dared to enter, and even the heavenly deity realm experts did not dare to take the risk. Without the god's limbs, he wouldn't have been able to escape the pursuit of the two spirit cranes. He would definitely have died under their beaks. Their beaks were like swords, their bodies were as fast as lightning. Based on the toughness of their feathers, one could guess that their beaks were sturdier than treasured swords. Even if his body was strong, he would not be able to withstand a single blow. Let's go. Chu Li held her wrist and appeared in front of a giant tree in a flash. He bent down and plucked 2 six-leaf grass. Xiao Shi squatted down to examine it. What is this? Moon-eater grass. Chu Li smiled. It's the spirit herb that Taihua Valley needs the most. I plan to grow some in the Gloriesville courtyard. I'll sell it to Taihua Valley. Moon-eater grass. Xiao Shi muttered. Chu Li said, it's the main ingredient for refining the Taihua gold pill. It's almost extinct in the outside world. Xiao Shi smiled, understanding his intention. Chu Li's expression changed. He quickly grabbed Xiao Shi and disappeared in a flash. The two spirit cranes appeared where he was. Seeing them disappear, they immediately soared into the sky and disappeared into the sky. Chuli appeared again in a flash. He looked up at the spirit cranes in the sky and let out a sigh of relief. They're competing with me. Seosha rolled her eyes at him. This is their territory. How can they not be angry that you stole the spirit herb? Chuli said, let's go back first. The two of them returned to the Glory's courtyard. Schwelling was not there. She was very busy. Not only did she have news from the New Moon brothel, she also had news from the Glory's courtyard. She had to gather and organize everything before handing it to Chu Li. Other than that, she also had to cultivate hard. Chu Li planted the 2 moon-eater grass. Under the spiritual energy of the Glory's tree, they would soon bear seeds. You only found this one type of spirit herb. Seosha smiled. You can get more back. Chuli smiled. Take it slow. I'll go check it out when I have time. Get 1 or 2 at a time. It'll be troublesome if there are too many. He was worried that if he got too many spirit herbs, the spirit cranes would follow the scent of the spirit herbs. That would be troublesome. He could run, but the people of the High Duke's public house could not. If the 2 spirit cranes were angry, it was rare that the High Duke's public house could escape. You can suppress your greed. That's rare. Seosha nodded. If a normal person saw the rare spirit herbs in the 100,000 hills, they would be eager to plunder them. It was like falling into a treasure. How could they suppress their greed? Chuli smiled. I'm asking for something big. If I can build a good relationship with the spirit beasts, that would be the best. Seosha laughed and shook her head. You really can dream on. Build a good relationship with the spirit beasts. You want to eat fish, and the fish wants to build a good relationship with you. Why don't you eat it? The spirit beasts are different. Chuli said, they are very intelligent. They can communicate. You just be silly. Seosha said unhappily, don't put yourself in danger. Chuli was full of confidence. His omniscient mirror could see what the human brain was thinking. It could also see what the spirit beasts were thinking. Humans had weaknesses. The spirit beasts were the same. They must have weaknesses. Seosha shook her head and laughed. She stopped persuading him. I'm going to rest. I'm tired. Seosha waved her hand. Chuli held her wrist and disappeared in a flash. He appeared on the island of Symphony. Yang Su was tidying up in the pagoda. When she saw the two of them, she curtsied. Seosha waved her hand. Tell them to stay far away. I don't want to see them. Yes, Yang Su replied. Seosha said, Chuli, you go too. Come back tomorrow. Chuli closed fist saluted and disappeared. He flashed a few times and appeared on the 100,000 hills. It was still that giant peak. A spirit crane was standing on the tree. The other spirit crane was nowhere to be seen. Chuli sighed in relief. If it was only one, he would not be in such a difficult situation. He could barely handle it. The spirit crane seemed to have felt Chuli's prying. It turned its head. Chuli sighed in his heart. It found him again. This time, it did not rush over directly. It stood on the tree and raised its long beak. It let out a high-pitched cry that echoed through the clouds. Chuli grinned. He saw it clearly. There was a small nest under the spirit crane's feet. There were 2 eggs in the nest. The nest was well hidden. He did not notice it in his rush last time. No wonder they were so irritable. They rushed over when they saw him. They were guarding the eggs. Another long cry was heard. The other spirit crane had arrived. Chuli disappeared in a flash. Chapter 334. Spirit beasts in this period of time were extremely sensitive, and their reactions were extreme. Even the slightest disturbance would cause them to attack. It would be unwise for him to go there now. Not only would he be of no help, but he might even worsen the relationship between them. He had to take it easy. He sat in front of the Gloriesville tree and activated the life and death scripture to catalyze the moon-eater grass. The moon-eater grass quickly grew taller. Then it began to grow tassels, just like how a grain would grow tassels. Then it slowly withered and turned yellow. They withered and fell into the mud, leaving behind thousands of seeds. Chu Li planted more than 100 seeds and urged them to grow. By the time Xue Ling returned, the seeds had grown into moon-eater grass that was as tall as a finger. "Young master, what are these?" Xue Ling, who was dressed in white, looked at the densely packed moon-eater grass in surprise. She said in surprise, "I didn't see it in the morning." "Moon-eater grass." Chu Li said, "Taihua Valley needs this." "Moon-eater grass." Xue Ling tilted her head and thought for a while. She did not recognize it. "For Taihua Valley." Chu Li nodded. Xue smiled and said, "Master, you're still worried about Sister Qin Xue and the rest. You're afraid that they'll be wronged, right?" "There are many of them. It shouldn't be a problem," Chu Li said. "Valley Leader Mei, and the others haven't arrived yet." "Nope." Xue Ling shook her head and said, "The news from the ground is that they will only arrive in 2 days." Chu Li frowned. "This Valley Leader Mei is too slow." As soon as he heard this, he understood that Mei Ao Shuang was purposely going against him and messing with him. Xue Ling said, "Exactly, but it doesn't seem to be a short journey. They must be dawdling on the road." Chu Li scoffed. He had hoped that Qin Xue and the others would leave before the wedding to avoid getting caught up in the storm. If some people wanted to plot against him, it was inevitable that they would target Qin Xue and the others. Mei Ao Shuang had to walk so slowly. She must have seen through his thoughts and purposely acted against him. She wanted to train her disciple as much as she could on the road. Otherwise, she would have arrived a long time ago. "Should we rush them?" Xue Ling asked. Chu Li waved his hand. "From tomorrow onwards, let Qin Xue and the others into the public house." "To our island?" Xue Ling asked. Chu Li said, "Our island will attract too much attention. Arrange for them to stay elsewhere. There are many houses on the island. It's best not to let people know." "Yes," Xue Ling replied. Xue Ling continued, "By the way, Master, young Alliance leader Han has already bought a house in the city and went to see Inspector Jiang today. It seems to be very unpleasant." "Brother Han." Chu Li smiled. Xue Ling smiled and said, "Master, you are on good terms with him." "You want to investigate?" Chu Li waved his hand. "There's no need for that. He's a smart person and is worth befriending. Help me send him an invitation. Tonight at the New Moon Brothel. Oh, right. Ask Brother Jiang to go see Valley Master Mei and give her a stalk of moon-eater grass." "Yes," Xue Ling answered crisply and began to grind the ink. Her jade-like hands and the inkstone reflected each other. The black was especially distinct, making her jade-like hands appear even more lustrous and exquisite. She opened an invitation and dipped the brush into the ink. "What time is it? The lanterns have just been lit." Chu Li said, "Don't make dinner either. Let's go to New Moon Brothel for dinner." Xue replied and quickly finished writing the post. Then he went to the spiritual soil and pulled out a moon-eater grass, wrapped it up, and lightly floated away. Chu Li and Xue Ling arrived at New Moon Brothel. New Moon Brothel was already very lively. Amid the music, people entered from time to time and were led to different floors. Chu Li and Xue Ling went up to the second floor and found a seat. Lu wore a lake green gown and walked over like a weak willow in the wind. She smiled sweetly and said, "Chief, it's rare for you to visit. Chu Li closed fist saluted and smiled. I'm treating a friend to a meal. Miss Lu, I'll have to trouble you to accompany me. It's rare for Chief to come. Lu pursed her lips and smiled. I can't wait for it. Should I find another sister? Let's wait for my friend to come. Chu Li smiled. Xue Ling held Lu's arm and smiled. Sister Lu is resting tonight. She heard that you are coming, so she specially came over. Chu Li said, There's no need for that. Lu pursed her lips and smiled. She shook her head and did not say anything. She was quiet and did not like to talk much. However, she suited Chu Li's taste. As they were talking, Han Fei brought Luo Chuan up the stairs in big strides. When he saw Chu Li, he closed fist saluted and smiled. Thanks to Brother Chu, I can finally come to New Moon Brothel. Chu Li closed fist saluted and led him to sit. Brother Han, have you seen Miss Jiang? Sigh. Han Fei's face was gloomy. He smiled helplessly. I've seen her, but it's better not to. Miss Jiang is kind and gentle. Why is Brother Han like this? Chu Li smiled. Han Fei sighed. She has a soft temperament, but she's soft on the outside but tough on the inside. She said that if I break off the engagement, she will commit suicide. Chu Li raised his eyebrows. Could it be that Miss Jiang likes Brother Han? We've only met once. What could she like? Han Fei sighed. Chu Li said, Brother Han is handsome and extraordinary. Miss Jiang must have fallen in love with him at first sight. Brother Chu is still joking at a time like this. Han Fei looked at him helplessly. Chu Li smiled. With Brother Han's means, I don't believe that you can't subdue Miss Jiang. I'm most afraid of women with this temperament. Han Fei shook his head. I really can't do anything to her. As he spoke, he looked at Lu with his eyes shining. Chu Li smiled. This is Miss Lu. Brother Han, choose a lady to sit with. It's boring for two men to sit opposite each other. Lu slowly raised her hand and waved. A delicate maid came over. Sister Lu, is Sister White Cherry free? Lu asked. The delicate maid looked troubled. Sister White Cherry has a guest. What about Sister Ning Lu? Sister Ning Lu is free, the delicate maid quickly said. Lu said, Then please invite Sister Ning Lu over. Yes, Your Highness. The pretty maid left gracefully. Lu smiled at Han Fei. Master Han, I've made the decision myself. Han Fei smiled and said, Thank you, Lady Bai Lu. Lady Bai Lu must have invited the most beautiful ones, right? Yes. Lu nodded. A beautiful woman in an apricot yellow gown gracefully walked over and curtsied. Greetings, Chief Chu. Chu Li fist saluted. She sat opposite Lu and smiled at Han Fei. Ning Lu is here to meet you, Master Han. Han Fei was excited. No need to be so polite. Let's just be casual. Come, let's have a drink first. He sighed in his heart. As expected of the New Moon Brothel, Miss Ning Lu was extremely beautiful. As she sat beside him, a faint fragrance wafted over. The surrounding world suddenly became lively and interesting. Everyone finished their drinks. Lu and Ning Lu poured wine for both of them. Xue and Luo Chuan sat at the side, without saying a word. Chu Li said, What do you plan to do? Cancel the marriage or get married? Since it has come to this, I can only get married. Han Fei sighed. I can't really watch her commit suicide. Chu Li smiled. Then you're finished, Brother Han. Won't you be at her mercy in the future? I have an idea. What idea? Han Fei asked. Chu Li said, I'll give 2 spirit blessing pills to Brother Han. Han Fei's mind worked quickly. He suddenly understood, and his eyes lit up. He fist saluted. Thank you, Brother Chu, but the marriage still has to go through Chu Li said. After the marriage, she can use this trick again. The spirit blessing pill will be useful. Han Fei laughed proudly. Ha! I'll be relying on you for the rest of my life. Chapter 335. The two of them drank in the New Moon brothel and enjoyed the top-notch singing and dancing of the brothel. Jiang Kuai, on the other hand, sneaked out of the city under the cover of night. As soon as he got out of the city, he used his lightness skill to his heart's content. Under the moonlight, he was like a wisp of smoke. From time to time, he would take a Peiyuan pill and continue his journey. In the middle of the night, he arrived at a small city. He went to an inn in the city and asked the innkeeper a few questions. Finally, he knocked on the door of a small courtyard. The small courtyard was already very quiet. It was obvious that they had fallen asleep. The knocking on the door was especially loud. A young woman's voice came from inside. "Who is it?" "I'm a protector of the public house. I've been ordered to deliver an item to Valley Leader, May," Jiang Kuai said in a deep voice. "Wait a moment," the young woman said. A moment later, the courtyard door was pulled open. The courtyard and the hall were brightly lit. Mei Ao Shuang sat on the armchair in the main hall. Her face was gloomy and her gaze was sharp. She looked like she had just woken up. The charming middle-aged woman, Qin Xiaofeng, sat on one side. Two young and pretty girls stood behind Mei Ao Shuang, staring at the door. Jiang Kuai strode into the main hall and gave a fist salute. "Greetings, Valley Leader Mei. I'm here on Chief Chu's order to present an item." As he spoke, he took out an envelope from his bosom and handed it over with both hands. A young woman stepped forward to receive it and passed it to Mei Ao Shuang. Mei Ao Shuang sneered. "Surname Chu?" "Yes, Chief Chu," Jiang Kuai said. "That Chu fellow is deliberately looking for trouble, isn't he?" Mei Ao Shuang held the letter and glared at him in annoyance. "What time is it now? Why can't you come tomorrow? It's so late at night. What's so urgent about it?" Qin Xiaofeng smiled and said, "Valley Master, Chief Chu also knows the severity of the matter. Let's see what it is first." Humph! Mei Ao Shuang's anger was still hard to quell. She opened the envelope and looked inside. Her expression immediately changed, and she hurriedly poured out the slightly withered moon-eater grass. Fang Xiaofeng was surprised. She turned her head to look at Mei Ao Shuang. "This is—" Mei Ao Shuang's expression was solemn and solemn. She picked up the moon-eater grass and looked at it carefully a few times in front of her eyes. She raised her head and looked at Jiang Kuai. "What did he say?" "Chief Chu didn't say anything. He only asked me to send it to Valley Leader Mei as soon as possible," Jiang Kuai said. "He didn't say anything?" Mei Ao Shuang snorted coldly. Qin Xiaofeng asked, "Valley Master, is it really the moon-eater grass?" Her voice trembled slightly. She knew very well what this moon-eater grass meant. Taihua golden pills were used up one after another. The fundamental reason was that the moon-eater grass could not be found. It was almost extinct. Among the many spirit herbs in the Taihua golden pill, the only one that was missing was the moon-eater grass. Without the moon-eater grass, he could not refine the Taihua golden pill. The Taihua golden elixir signified the achievements of the Taihua Valley disciples, and it determined the strength of the Taihua Valley. In order to find the moon-eater grass, Taihua Valley had expended too much manpower and resources. Unfortunately, the result was hopeless. They had searched the entire world and still could not find the moon-eater grass. He had never expected to see the moon-eater grass here today. "Humph, go back and tell Chu Li that I'll be there tomorrow." Mei Ao Shuang carefully put the moon-eater grass back into the envelope, keeping it in his embrace. Zhang Xian said in annoyance, "Tell him not to worry." She immediately saw through Chu Li's intentions. He felt that she was delaying him and was urging her to hurry over. Jiang Kuai gave a fist salute. Sorry for disturbing you. I'll take my leave now. He turned around and fluttered away, disappearing into the night. What does Chief Chu Li mean by this? Fang Xiaofeng asked. He's urging us to hurry over. Mei Ao Shuang said coldly. Cunning fellow. If you have something to say, just say it directly. Why do you have to use this kind of method to play tricks? Fang Xiaofeng laughed secretly. If Chief Chu Li really said it directly, not only would the valley leader not listen, she would even dawdle even more. They had to wait for Chief Chu Li to leave the public house and go to the imperial residence of King, and before they arrived at Chongming town. Valley leader, how many moon-eater grass do you think Chief Chu Li has? Fang Xiaofeng asked excitedly. Mei Ao Shuang frowned and thought for a while. She scoffed and said, I think it's quite a lot, or else he wouldn't be showing it off. This damn fellow. Fang Xiaofeng said, the moon-eater grass is very important to us. Valley leader, please don't throw a tantrum. Talk to Chief Chu Li. We'll buy as much as he has. Elder Qin. Mei Ao Shuang stared at her with dissatisfaction. Such an important matter. Of course I won't mess around. Sigh. Fang Xiaofeng was very worried. The valley leader hated men. However, she usually ignored men when she saw them. She was too lazy to say a word. However, when it came to Chu Li, she was especially energetic. Her fighting spirit was high, and she wanted to surpass Chu Li. They were just like enemies from her past life. If he told her not to worry, it would be strange if she could. Mei Ao Shuang said, I'm just afraid that this fellow will ask for a sky-high price. Chief Chu Li won't do such a thing. Fang Xiaofeng said, don't forget about Chinning and the others. Maybe he will give it to us for free. For free? Mei Ao Shuang sneered. This kind of person, valley leader, will do such a losing deal? Fang Xiaofeng shook her head helplessly. Mei Ao Shuang raised her voice. All right, everyone, don't sleep anymore. We'll hurry through the night. We must reach Chongming town by tomorrow. Yes, everyone responded. Chu Li and Han Fei drank to their heart's content at the New Moon brothel. They only returned to the public house late at night. They did not cultivate and went straight to sleep. When they woke up at dawn, they sighed heartily. After washing up with Xue Ling's help, they were about to cultivate when a jade chime came from outside. Xue Ling floated out lightly. She quickly returned and smiled. Master, Valley Leader Mei, and the others are here. Chu Li laughed. It really works. I'm sorry for troubling Brother Jiang. He left the public house directly and went to the sky brothel with Xue Ling. The sky brothel was already very lively. The breakfast at the sky brothel was also superb. Many people came straight for breakfast in the morning and then strolled around the streets for half the morning. Mei Ao Shuang sat at a table near the window on the third floor. She looked coldly at Chu Li, who was walking up. Chu Li closed fist saluted and smiled. Valley Leader Mei, sorry for not coming out to meet you. Mei Ao Shuang looked a little weathered, but it added a strange sense of beauty. She was like a haggard beauty, which made her even more lovely. Her jade face tensed up. She said coldly, Head Chief Chu Li, this time it goes your way, right? Chu Li sat opposite her and nodded at Fang Xiaofeng with a smile. Mei Ao Shuang originally wanted to attend the banquet alone. Fang Xiaofeng insisted on coming along. She was afraid that Mei Ao Shuang would throw a tantrum again and mess things up. If it was any other time, it would be fine. If it was messed up, she was the valley leader and Fang Xiaofeng did not want to interfere. However, this was not a trivial matter. It concerned the rise and fall of Tai Hua Valley. Chuli smiled. Valley Leader May, there is no need to rush. I plan to let them wait until the second lady's wedding before leaving. May Ao Shuang had originally decided not to lower herself to his level. For the sake of the Moon-Eater grass, she would endure it. But when she heard this, she suddenly became angry. No need to rush? No need to rush you. Chuli interrupted her and smiled. But I wanted to let Valley Leader May know about this good news earlier. So I asked someone to send it over early to see if it is the Moon-Eater grass that you need. May Ao Shuang gritted her teeth. She stared at him hatefully. Good, good. That's right, it is the Moon-Eater grass. She took a deep breath. Her towering chest rose and fell violently. She decided to endure this anger for now. Chuli smiled. That's good. I found more than 100 of them. I will give them all to Valley Leader May. For me, May Ao Shuang's anger was suppressed. Chuli said, I have no use for the Moon-Eater grass. It just so happens that Valley Leader May needs it. We are considered a family now. Valley Leader May can just take it. There is no need to treat me like an outsider. Who is family with you? May Ao Shuang could not help but scoff. Feng Xiaofeng hurriedly smiled. Chief Chuli, thank you very much. But we can't just take it for free. Chuli nodded. If that's the case, I will ask Valley Leader May for a small favor. What favor? May Ao Shuang looked at him cautiously. Chapter 336. P.S. The Fifth Alliance has been formed. The alliance leader, Zay, is my wife. P.S. Recommendation tickets. Please recommend tickets. There will still be 6 updates today. Please recommend tickets. Chuli smiled. It's the second lady's wedding. It's inevitable that there will be some troublemakers. The manpower in the public house might not be enough. Mei Ao Shuang said coldly. Chuli, you should know that I don't want anything to do with the High Duke's public house. Chuli sighed and said helplessly, if only the third lady was here, it would be much better. Unfortunately, Mei Ao Shuang frowned and glared at him. The High Duke's public house announced to the public that the third lady was in isolated cultivation. She would not come out even after the second lady's wedding. Mei Ao Shuang was extremely furious. This man with the surname Chu was the most detestable. He always used Xiao Qi to force him. If Xiao Qi was here, she wouldn't have let me do this. Mei Ao Shuang scoffed coldly. Chuli smiled. Yes, it's a pity that she's not around. There's really no manpower in the residence. If anything happens to the second lady, and we can't stop it because we don't have enough manpower, I wonder how sad the third lady will be when she comes out of isolated cultivation. The one with the surname Chu, you are really despicable. Mei Ao Shuang glared at him hatefully. Valley Master Mei, please forgive me. Chuli spread his hands and smiled bitterly. I'm also forced into a corner. There are too many people eyeing the second lady's wedding. If it's really ruined, then the reputation of the House of High Dukes will be gone. We'll lose our deterrence towards the martial arts world within our borders. If we can't suppress them, they'll definitely take the opportunity to stir up trouble. I don't know how many innocent people will die. Mei Ao Shuang's eyes flashed. Although she was angry and did not like Chuli, she had to admit that Chuli was right and had hit the nail on the head. Once the High Duke's public house lost its deterrent power, the martial arts factions that were firmly suppressed within the borders would definitely not let go of the opportunity. They would definitely seize the opportunity to rise up. Flames of war would be lit everywhere, and countless people would die in disputes. Chuli sighed. But if Valley Leader Mei is really unwilling, I dare not force you. After all, once someone finds out about Valley Leader Mei's identity, Tai Hua Valley will indeed become the public enemy of the martial arts world. Humph, as long as you understand. Mei Ao Shuang glared at him. Chuli smiled. But we can take a step back. Valley Leader Mei doesn't have to be a maid. She can hide in the dark and wear a black mask. If the situation isn't dire, there's no need for Valley Master Mei to take action. In that case, Mei Ao Shuang muttered to herself. This was much better. Qin Xiaofeng also nodded her head repeatedly. Chief Steward Chu had taken a step back time and time again. After all, he had been a great help in finding these moon-eater grass. For the sake of these moon-eater grasses, it was not a big deal even if they really offended all the martial artists. As long as there were enough Tai Hua, Jin Dan, the strength of the disciples was guaranteed, enough to be ranked among the top sects. And those guys could only be in awe. Mei Ao Shuang thought about it and saw through Chu Li's sinister intentions. He was asking for a sky-high price and returning the price when it hit the ground. In the beginning, the idea was to make him a surprise soldier, but he didn't mention it directly. Instead, he made an even more excessive request and retreated step by step until he was forced to agree. You really are a bastard who deserves to die. Mei Ao Shuang hated him so much that the roots of her teeth were itching. She wished she could give him a few tight slaps. Chuli smiled. Valley Leader Mei has agreed. Humph, all right, I agree, Mei Ao Shuang said hatefully. If it wasn't for the moon-eater grass, it'd be useless even if you mentioned Xiao Qi. Chuli chuckled and nodded. The more she said that, the more it proved that Xiao Qi was the one who was really useful. Every strike was a hit. Feng Xiaofeng said, Chief Chu, I have a presumptuous question. Where did you find this moon-eater grass? She also knew that this question was a little excessive, but the moon-eater grass was too important to Tai Hua Valley. For the sake of Tai Hua Valley, she didn't care about her old face anymore. Chu Li said, in a ravine. Unfortunately, the moon-eater grass there has been moved here. There shouldn't be any left. When do you need it? The moon-eater grass hasn't fully grown yet. It'll probably take half a month. Feng Xiaofeng said, pluck it now. It's a pity that the medicinal effects are damaged. Chu Li nodded. That's true. Mei Ao Shuang scoffed. You've wasted a stalk of moon-eater grass, which is a Taiwa gold pill. Chu Li said, that's okay, right? There are seeds for the moon-eater grass. Just plant some. You wish. The seeds aren't useful at all. Mei Ao Shuang scoffed coldly. Otherwise, why would it become extinct? Chu Li was surprised. Mei Ao Shuang scoffed. The moon-eater grass needs to be nourished by the feces of spirit beasts. Do you think you can make it grow so easily? Chu Li suddenly realized. I planted it with spirit soil. It hasn't died yet. It doesn't matter if there's no feces of spirit beasts. The key is the germination period. Mei Ao Shuang said, without the feces of spirit beasts, the seeds can't germinate at all. That ravine of yours, Chu Li said, it's a ravine near the 100,000 hills. He thought to himself. It seemed that the mysteriousness of the scripture of life and death was beyond his imagination. That's no wonder. Mei Ao Shuang said, it's very likely that some spirit beasts will pass by. That ravine is too dangerous. It's better if you don't go. Chu Li smiled. Mei Ao Shuang scoffed coldly. You think your abilities are so great that you can deal with ordinary spirit beasts, don't you? Chu Li laughed. Are spirit beasts really that powerful? People like us won't survive even if we meet the weakest spirit beasts. Mei Ao Shuang said, they are favored by God. Their bones are 10 times harder than ours, 10 times faster than ours, and 10 times stronger. What do you have to fight them? Chu Li pondered and nodded. He had experienced this before. If Mei Ao Shuang met a spirit crane, she would definitely die. Martial arts was a joke in front of spirit beasts. Even if she had a treasure sword, it would be useless. It was no different from a baby holding a wooden stick, Mei Ao Shuang said. Moreover, it was luck this time. That's why the moon-eater grass could germinate. It might not happen next time. Chu Li said, I will mobilize the people from the House of High Dukes. It's not that easy. Mei Ao Shuang shook her head. Spirit beasts almost never leave the 100,000 hills. How can we find them? Spirit beasts will occasionally appear on the outskirts of the 100,000 hills, right? That's too dangerous. Forget it, Mei Ao Shuang said. If the people from the House of High Dukes lose their lives, I won't feel at ease. Xiao Qi will blame me too. All right. Once we enter the imperial residence with the second lady and use the power of the imperial residence, we should be able to find some, Chu Li said. Mei Ao Shuang rolled her eyes at him and scoffed. I can tell that you don't like the imperial residence of King, and do you still want the second lady to marry them? What else can I do? Chu Li shook his head. Mei Ao Shuang said, all right, it's up to you. I will act as a secret guard and help you in secret. Thank you, Valley Leader Mei. Chu Li smiled. Why don't you stay in the imperial residence? It'll be convenient for you to move around at any time. Forget it. I have a residence in town. Mei Ao Shuang waved her hand. Don't worry, I won't run away. Chu Li closed fist saluted. Then I'll take my leave first. Feng Xiaofeng stood up to send him off. Chief Chu, I really have to thank you. You've really saved our Tai Hua Valley. Chu smiled. Elder Fong, you don't have to be so polite. We're a family. Mei Ao Shuang curled her red lips. Who's a family with you? Chu pretended not to hear her. He closed fist saluted with a smile and left the sky in,